Chapter 2059. Some unscrupulous merchants would raise the price of the goods so high and then give a discount. Wasn't that cheating? They even said that it was a big discount. Tion said, "This is the auction house's agent. At first, the customer said it was 1 million, but we kept suppressing it. Now, it has dropped to 500,000. The commission we earn, other than the original auction house's items, the auction house collects commission from other people's items. This price is not set by me. For a little commission, I'm risking my life." Tion said, "Ning Shu, I don't believe you. Do you want it? You really don't want it? I really don't want it. Take it. I know you want it. You're not me. How do you know I want it? I don't want it. Then Tion will send City Lord off. Then leave. I'm leaving." Ning Shu turned and was about to leave. After taking 2 steps, he turned back and asked, "Can it swallow anything?" "Yes, City Lord." Tion curled his lips and cupped his hands. Ning Shu walked back. "Is there no discount? 500,000 is too expensive. It's already half the price." Tion said, "It's so expensive. Doesn't your conscience hurt? Just go and snatch it." Tion said, "Yes, but I prefer excitement." Ning Shu, in order to sell things, you've lost all your integrity. Other than me, you shouldn't be able to find anyone else who would buy this thing that hurts others and oneself. Ning Shu looked at the round fish tank and asked, "Is the fish tank free?" "Cheaper." Ning Shu said. "No, it's cheap." Ning Shu, stingy. "Okay, I'll take it." Ning Shu said and gave 500,000 to Tion. "Damn, I just got a little tax not long ago, and now I'm returning it." Ning Shu looked at Tion and felt that Tion was very proud. Previously, Ning Shu didn't want it, but when he thought about how this thing could absorb a lot of things, he felt that it was useful. What forming a sea of law? Who would believe that? Ning Shu carried the fish tank out of the auction house and returned to his system space. Ning Shu threw a piece of sea law stone into the fish tank. Then there was a sizzling sound. In the end, even the hard sea law stone disappeared without a trace. The water in the fish tank was as clean as before. There was not even a speck of water left. What the fuck, wasn't this the enhanced version of sulfuric acid? It was indeed a thirsty thing. The problem was that this thing might kill without distinguishing between friend and foe. Ning Shu was so desperate that he wanted to put his hand inside to take a look. In the end, he drew a fingernail-sized soul power and put it into the fish tank. In the end, it didn't even make a splash. AI. Ning Shu sent his consciousness into the fish tank, and in the end, even his consciousness was devoured. "I'm so thirsty. Can you just tell me what you're not eating?" Ning Shu tapped the fish tank with his finger, and some water flowed into the fish tank, but it was useless. It seemed that no one could control this thing. It was called water, but it wasn't water at all. It was different from the essence of water. Tion said that she was the embodiment of the law of water, so she might be able to use it. It was pure nonsense. He also didn't know what the fish tank was made of. Ning Shu scooped a lot of spirit liquid from the pool and poured it into the fish tank. However, the water in the fish tank didn't decrease. It was always the same amount. Where did this thing go? Ning Shu really didn't know what to do with this thing. Originally, he wanted to use this void law stone to deal with the spirit replenishing fruit tree in 9 Palace Mountain. There were many tentacles on the fruit tree, and it would be over if it was entangled. He wanted to use this thing, but he couldn't control it at all. It would be a scam if he hurt himself. How could he control this tank of water? What kind of power could turn everything it came into contact with into dregs? No, not even dregs were left. Ning Shu was determined to find a way to control this thing. Just as Tion said, this thing was very lethal. Ning Shu temporarily couldn't find a way to deal with the spirit-replenishing fruit tree's endless soul tentacles. If he could really master this thing, it would be much easier for him to deal with the spirit-replenishing fruit. The spirit-replenishing fruit was a good thing, but the soul tentacles were very troublesome. However, there was no way to control the Void Law Stone. Even if Ning Shu extracted his soul origin and fused it with the Void Law Stone, His own soul origin would be swallowed. He lost a trace of his soul origin. There was no way to replenish the soul origin if it was just a little bit. He didn't want to think that he could regain the power of the soul. Back then, for the world of reincarnation, he extracted a part of it. This time, he extracted another trace, but it was swallowed. It looked like ordinary water, but anything thrown in would disappear without a trace. The water was still clear. Ning Shu propped up his chin and looked at the fish tank. His finger touched the surface of the fish tank, and circles of ripples formed on the water surface. His heart was stifled. 500,000 merit points. Every time he got the money, he would have something to buy. Ning Shu took a vase and threw it into the fish tank. The vase disappeared. The water was still incomparably clear. Ning Shu had the urge to take a sip. He wanted to see what would happen if he drank this thing into his stomach. Maybe she would disappear. He didn't dare to court death. Ning Shu clicked on the system exchange store to see if there were any items that could deal with this thing. Ning Shu didn't want to use the tank of water that he bought to decorate the system space. He couldn't even raise a fucking fish. Ning Shu's finger flipped through the system exchange store. In fact, he didn't have much hope. The system store probably didn't have such tools. As expected, Ning Shu couldn't find anything. After all, it was too niche. Even if there were any tools, the cost would be very high. Moreover, no one would buy them. Therefore, it was normal that there weren't any tools. Ning Shu looked at the fish tank and fretted. 500,000 merit points. Oh my god, 500,000 merit points. Ning Shu's heart bled when he thought about it, but he couldn't do anything about it. This kind of useless thing was sold at a cheap price. What a black-hearted person. Businessmen were all so treacherous. A silver-haired man was so stingy that it made one's hair stand on end. A black-haired man caught her and cheated her. It seemed like she was the only one who had the taxes to buy these strange things. Ning Shu felt that he should chop off his hands. If he bought these useless things, he would use up all his merit points and power of faith. What if he encountered something worth buying but didn't have enough money? What if he could only watch helplessly as he missed it? Ning Shu felt very stifled. Should he bring this thing to the silver-haired man? The feeling of running to his door and being cheated was a little complicated. Moreover, Ning Shu didn't know if the silver-haired man would tell him the truth. Would he hide something? Ning Shu felt so pitiful. What a sin. Ning Shu decided to check it himself. He opened the system and searched. If he wanted to know, he could just do it. Ning Shu entered the keywords Law of Nothingness Stone and started searching. Chapter 2060. The results of Ning Shu's search were that there was no way to control this kind of thing. Anything that entered it would be assimilated and disappear. Rather than calling it devouring, it was more accurate to call it assimilation. Anything that entered would be assimilated. Ning Shu was speechless. What a scam. What was the point of not being able to control it? It sounded like it had good lethality. It could annihilate and assimilate things. But it was something that could not differentiate between friend and foe. It sounded awesome, but it was a little useless. He bought such an expensive thing on impulse without thinking clearly. He should not spend on impulse. Could he return it? Ning Shu opened the chat and asked Si Tian, I want to return it. Si Tian, who are you? What item did you buy? Once it's sold, it cannot be returned. Fuck, he was playing dumb. Ning Shu replied expressionlessly, I am Ning Shu. City Lord, what's the matter? Do you need any items? Si Tian asked. I want to return it, Ning Shu said. Si Tian, City Lord, I'm afraid this is a little difficult. If it's an item from an auction, you can definitely return it. But this is a consignment item. The person who consigned it took the money and left. Ning Shu was speechless. So the person who consigned it could not be found? Ning Shu pulled his hair. Seaton, this bastard. Ning Shu asked, I'll sell it to you. Do you want it? If the city lord wants to buy it, I can buy it. How much is the city lord selling it for? The return price is a little cheap. Si Tian said directly, 250,000 merit points. Ning Shu, get lost, get lost, get lost. Once it returned to him, he would lose 250,000 merit points. Ning Shu would rather put the fish tank in the system space. He was happy to see it. He did not want to return it, so he kept the price low. Ning Shu, doesn't your conscience hurt? A little. Ning Shu could not find a way to deal with the law of nothingness stone for the time being. Since he could not return it, then so be it. Ning Shu set up a water barrier at the mouth of the water tank. He was afraid that this thing would overflow, and then his system space would be gone. Fortunately, there was a fish tank to block it. Ning Shu tapped the fish tank with his finger. What material was it made of? Ning Shu felt that there were many materials that she did not recognize. Since he couldn't figure it out, Ning Shu gave up and prepared to do the quest. Perhaps he would encounter the world's origin in the mission world. Ning Shu lay down on the sofa and heard the notification from the chat system. Out of boredom, Ning Shu opened it and saw that it was the cute little lowly system that he had not contacted for a long time. Is Kiss there? Ning Shu was speechless. She really couldn't bear to say that she wasn't around. Is your master still busy with the matters of the plane? Ning Shu asked. Yes, but the abnormalities in the plane have been dealt with. Now they are slowly merging with the plane's heavenly axiom. This time I am here to return the brain, the little lowly said. Ning Shu, congratulations. She probably suffered a lot to have such a plane. Ning Shu did not regret giving up that plane at all. He did not want to spend a lot of time there. Also, that plane was a little disgusting. The giant sperms multiplied unscrupulously. Even if he had that plane, Ning Shu felt that it had been washed by a lot of sperm. Moreover, he did not know how long that plane would last. After thinking about it, the world that he built was still better. However, with her own world, the little lowly's mission became different. Her level became higher. Thank you for this time. My master said that he wanted to treat you to a meal. Thank you for lending him the brain. Are you selling it? The little lowly asked crisply. Ning Shu, I'm not selling it. He really could not bear to reject a cute little lowly. Is that so? What a pity. What do you want in exchange? What do you need? I will try my best to find it for you, the little lowly said. Ning Shu wanted to say the water element world origin, but he stopped. A world origin for a super civilization's brain was not a good deal. Ning Shu said directly, I'm not selling this thing. The water element world origin would appear eventually. If he could not wait 1 day, he would wait 2 days. If 2 days were not enough, he would wait 3 days. However, a super civilization spent a lot of wisdom to create a brain. This kind of thing was not something that could be found easily. Oh. The little lowly was a little disappointed. She returned the brain to Ning Shu. The brain appeared in Ning Shu's storage box. Ning Shu took out the brain. It was still black. Perhaps it was because he had not seen this thing for a long time. Ning Shu felt that this thing in his hand was a little important. It probably absorbed a lot of mental power. Ning Shu put the brain on the bookshelf. When he put it on, the bookshelf creaked and almost fell. Well, it was not heavier. It was much heavier. It was a win-win situation. Fortunately, the little lowly's mission enforcer was a man of his word. He returned it to her. However, even if he did not return it, she had a way to get it back. To be honest, Ning Shu had piled up a lot of things in the system space. Initially, she had nothing. Back then, when she had nothing, Ning Shu was like an ant moving things into the system space bit by bit. Now, she had some good things. Of course, there were also some useless things, such as a tank of water. Ning Shu lay on the sofa and said to 2333, who had been silent the whole time, I was impulsive. Why didn't you stop me? Oh, what did you buy? 2333 said. Ning Shu asked in surprise, don't you know that I bought a fish tank? I was absorbing energy. I don't know what's going on outside. Don't you have money? You bought a fish tank. 2333 looked at the fish tank. How much did it cost? 500,000. Ning Shu said. It was indeed an impulsive purchase. 2333 said, this thing is not easy to control. It will hurt others and hurt yourself. Ning Shu asked, not easy to control? Does that mean it can be controlled? It can be controlled, but it will kill people. I think a lot of people who tried to control it died. 23,333's voice was a little cold. 2333's tone was very serious. It gave Ning Shu goosebumps. Although there were no goosebumps, he felt that 2333 was a little crazy. Ning Shu swallowed and asked, "How do I do it?" 2333 opened his lips and said, "It's simple. Jump in." Ning Shu jumped up in shock and said, "Are you kidding me? Everything could be assimilated and devoured. If she jumped in, there would be nothing left. She would turn into a puddle of water." "I'm not kidding. Just jump in and merge yourself with the law of nothingness stone. You will be able to control it," 2333 said. Ning Shu was speechless. Oh my God. This was no different from suicide. It was too risky. There was almost a 100% chance of death. Chapter 2061. Ning Shu chuckled. 2333 said, "This is the only way. The law of nothingness can merge with everything in the world. If you can resist the fusion of the law of nothingness stone, you might succeed. After the fusion, there is a great benefit." 2333 paused. He had to keep Ning Shu in suspense. Ning Shu did not speak. No matter how great the benefit was, Ning Shu did not hesitate to choose his own life. There were definitely benefits to such danger. However, if he could use time to become stronger, Ning Shu would choose to use time. He would not choose to do something so dangerous. Yes, there is another benefit. You cannot be killed. 2333 said, "From now on, your body will become the law of nothingness. Any attack will be absorbed by your body." Ning Shu. It was indeed very attractive. As expected, danger was accompanied by great opportunities. However, the problem was that there was a 999,999% chance of survival. The remaining 0.000000001% chance of survival was basically negligible. No matter how tempting it was, Ning Shu didn't dare to take the risk since it meant certain death. It was almost certain death. There was no need to take the risk. Ning Shu took a deep breath. He did not look at the law of nothingness stone. It was too tempting. However, it was also filled with the smell of death. Ning Shu asked 2333, "How do you know this?" "Oh, I know a little about this thing," 2333 said. "Ning Shu, where did this knowledge come from?" Ning Shu was too lazy to ask. 2333 might not answer even if he asked. As expected, 2333 did not answer. Ning Shu could not help but look at the fish tank. He said, "Go do the mission." 2333 asked, "Do the system mission?" Ning Shu, did he not just do the system mission? Ning Shu said. 2333 did not mind that Ning Shu did not agree to do the system mission. Ning Shu originally wanted to do a quest, but he felt that his mind wasn't calm. In the face of such a big decision, he needed time to calm down. Although it was a death sentence, birds die for food and men die for wealth. Ning Shu wanted to fight. But at the same time, he was also afraid that he might die. If that happened, everything would turn into a puddle of water and there would be nothing left. However, if he were to fuse with this thing, his power would increase tremendously. He would be able to fuse with everything in the world and all kinds of attacks. The temptation was too great. Ning Shu really wanted to sell this thing. Out of sight, out of mind, and out of mind. His heart was no longer as anxious. "Forget it. Let's not do the quest first. I'll think about it," Ning Shu said to 2333. Ning Shu tapped with his finger and a black hole appeared before him. Ning Shu walked into the black hole and disappeared from the system space. Ning Shu stepped on the black sand and looked at the 9-palace mountain in the world of samsara. The evolution of this world wasn't complete yet. If it was really the world of samsara, then there should be a pool of rebirth. Ning Shu looked up the information about the pool of rebirth. The pool of rebirth's function was to remove all memories, language, skills, and knowledge from the soul. It was a blank and pure soul. When the soul was reborn into the world of the living, It had to jump into the pool of rebirth to start a new cycle. The pool of rebirth's function was similar to the legendary Mangpo's soup. After drinking it, one would forget their past and let go of their obsession. Only then could they reincarnate. That was why her status panel said that this was the world of samsara. However, a world of samsara without the pool of rebirth wasn't the world of samsara. But how did this pool of rebirth form? Ning Shu felt like an idiot. She could only watch the world slowly evolve. The formation of a world wasn't something that could be done in a day or two. It was useless for her to be anxious. Ning Shu placed his hand on the Nine Palace Mountain and felt a strong suction force sucking him in. Ning Shu appeared in the square and looked at the people coming and going. There were some people in the square who were accepting missions or issuing missions. There were all kinds of strange quests. Some lost dogs, some lost cats, some went into the forest to explore, and some went to find treasures. Ning Shu felt like he was playing a game. However, it was much more realistic than a game. In the game, he could return to the city to recover his health. However, if he died here, he would die. The first time he came here, he foolishly teamed up with someone else. When he heard that there were fruits that could strengthen the soul, he followed them. Moreover, he went to a dangerous place like the Valley of Wind. He was almost entangled by the soul of the fruit tree. Therefore, Ning Shu wanted to understand this place. The Nine Palace Mountain had 9 layers of worlds. This was only the first layer. He didn't know what kind of worlds there were above it. Ning Shu walked on the street and looked around. This was an ancient city. As Ning Shu walked, he felt his clothes being tugged. He looked down and saw a child with a ponytail. The child looked to be about 7 or 8 years old. He smiled and asked, "Is this your first time in the God Star Stream? I have a complete map here. It only costs 1 spirit stone." Ning Shu looked at the child. He had a body and wasn't in a soul state. He should be the descendant of the trial disciples. He couldn't leave, and he couldn't run to the top 9 levels. He could only survive and reproduce here. Ning Shu said, "Little friend, I don't have any spirit stones." She really didn't have any spirit stones. The boy was a little conflicted and asked, "If you really don't have any spirit stones, how are you going to cultivate?" "Oh, you are in a soul state. You should use a soul stone to cultivate. How about this? I'll take 2 soul stones from you." The boy said. What was a soul stone? Was it the same thing as a spirit stone? Ning Shu said, "This is my first time here. I don't know what you're talking about." She was Xiao Bai. The boy was speechless. "How about this? I'll give you a small bottle of spirit liquid. You give me the information of the entire world." Ning Shu said. Ning Shu reached behind him and out of the black hole. A hand suddenly appeared in the system space and took the porcelain bottle on the table. There was a pool of spirit water in her system space. There were swaying lotus flowers. 2333 had already put the spirit water in a porcelain bottle for her. Ning Shu's hand came out of the black hole and took out a small porcelain bottle. The porcelain bottle was not big. "This is spirit liquid. It's much purer than spirit stones," Ning Shu said as he shook the porcelain bottle. The boy couldn't take his eyes off the bottle in Ning Shu's hand. He raised his chin and said, I don't believe that this is spirit liquid." Ning Shu opened the bottle cork and said, "Feel it." The boy leaned close to the mouth of the bottle and almost jumped up. Then he said, "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon." The boy ran away as if his butt was on fire. Ning Shu stood there and waited for him. To be honest, Ning Shu wasn't afraid of encountering danger here. If there was really danger, she could leave immediately. Chapter 2062. As long as she entered the black hole, she would be able to leave this place and come and go as she pleased. Could the water laws of this world be used? Ning Shu condensed a fist-sized water ball and played with it in his hand. Very good, he could use the power of law. Soon, the little boy came over with a lot of things, including a few jade slips. He said, "I've taken out all my treasures. Can you give me the spirit liquid?" Ning Shu gave the spirit liquid to the little boy, took the things in his hand and said, "Keep the good things for yourself, and don't tell anyone that I have these things. Since I dared to take them out, I'm not afraid of being provoked. The little boy quickly shook his head. I won't, we're done here. He didn't dare to tell anyone, otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to protect this small bottle of things, and it would definitely be snatched away. Ning Shu sent his consciousness into the jade slip. The contents of the jade slip were exploding. There were maps and detailed introductions. This level of the world didn't only have this city, there were other cities as well. Where there were people, there would be Jianghu, and there would be conflicts. Every city had its own sect, and of course, only the strong had the right to speak. Many experts would rather enjoy the resources and respect on the first level than go to the second level. Furthermore, going to the second level would cause them to be tortured by the space blades and wind blades. Those who didn't have absolute strength, or those who didn't have great ambitions, all chose to stay and develop their strength on the first level, forming large clans. Furthermore, the world here was so big, it was about the same size as the outside of the Nine Palace Mountain. There were many demonic beasts here, and some of them were ancient demonic beasts that were extinct outside. Each of them was incomparably powerful, and lived in the mountains where humans rarely went. Sometimes, they would come out to show their presence. There were many cities, and after continuous reproduction, there were also many people. This was a complete world. If the world on the first level was like this, then what about the world above? Ning Shu was really envious of the Nine Palace Mountain. The use of spirit stones was something that cultivators needed, but the use of soul stones was not connected to the world of reincarnation. The soul of a cultivator was strong, and after death, they could continue to cultivate, but if they encountered irreversible damage, their soul would still disappear. But even though the consciousness in the soul had dissipated, the soul power was still there, and the soul essence was still there. Those things were absorbed by the world and became soul stones. The soul stone contained the power of the soul, and the best soul stones even contained the source of the soul. These soul stones became the cultivation method of soul cultivators. They relied on soul stones just like how cultivators relied on spirit energy and spirit stones, becoming the source of power. A soul stone with soul power and soul origin, this was amazing. This world even knew how to be self-sufficient and recycle. Soul stones and spirit stones were the same as currency here. Ning Shu's eyes lit up. If she obtained this stone, would she be able to extract soul force or soul source from it? He remembered that when he entered the black market in the virtual space, he had to extract a trace of his soul origin. In other words, soul origin and soul energy could both be obtained. But where would he get this soul stone? It seemed that there were soul stone mines, but they were all occupied by the big families. He just didn't know if the soul power and soul origin in the soul stone were pure or not, or if there were any negative things. The world wasn't so kind as to remove the impurities in your soul. It simply absorbed the soul and formed a soul stone. It shouldn't be too pure. Ning Shu didn't dare to touch things that weren't too pure. After experiencing all kinds of worlds and meeting all kinds of people, the people around her had a lot of negative emotions. If she absorbed impure soul power, the negative emotions in the soul power would affect her and even cause her to go berserk. Negative energy could be contagious, not to mention directly absorbing it into her body and exploding on the spot. But if she could find a way to purify the soul stone, wouldn't she have profited? Soul stones should be unique to the Nine Palace Mountain because the other planes were connected to the world of reincarnation. After a person died, their soul would enter the world of reincarnation. The situation in the Nine Palace Mountain wouldn't happen, where people and souls lived together. It seemed that this world could give her surprises. When she first came, she found the spirit replenishing fruit. This time, she found a soul stone. She really wanted to see what a soul stone looked like. Ning Shu asked the little boy squatting beside her, "Do you have a soul stone? Let me see the soul stone." The little boy shook his head. "I don't have a soul stone, and soul stones make me feel uncomfortable. Living people rarely use soul stones." "Why?" Ning Shu asked. "Soul stones are very cold. Some soul stones even have people's faces inside." It was a little disgusting. When Ning Shu heard the little boy's description of the soul stone, she was a little disappointed. As expected, it was impure soul power and soul origin. So every time after completing a mission, the pure soul power of the person who entrusted the mission would be very precious. What should she do if she couldn't purify it? She chose to use the soul stone to strengthen her soul in a short period of time, filling her body with impurities and negative things. Ning Shu was willing to choose a world to complete missions and earn pure soul power. But Ning Shu still didn't give up on the soul stone. She wanted to get some back and think of a way to purify it. The power of the masses couldn't be underestimated. If she took this thing out, there would definitely be people who could think of a way to purify the soul stone. If she could purify the soul stone and turn it into pure soul power and soul origin, it would be a big deal. All the mission takers worked hard to complete missions in order to obtain soul power and become stronger. But if the soul stone could be purified, then there would be other ways to become stronger. After reading the contents of the jade slip, Ning Shu returned the jade slip to the little boy and said, "I'll return the jade slip to you." The little boy immediately clutched the jade bottle that was stuffed in his chest. "Do you want to take the spirit liquid back?" Ning Shu said, "I don't want to take it back. Take me to the trading area here to take a look." The little boy immediately smiled and led the way for Ning Shu. He also introduced Ning Shu to some of the city's situation, such as where there were many thieves and which restaurants had good food. The jade slip introduced the city's clans and some powers, but it didn't introduce the details of petty theft. Not everyone here was strong. Not all the children of cultivators had spirit roots and had the opportunity to cultivate. Chapter 2063. Ning Shu bought a bottle of spirit liquid at the trading center and obtained 5 soul stones. The soul stones were a bit like jade, but there were some spots inside, so they were probably not pure soul stones. Ning Shu sensed it slightly and felt that there was soul power surging inside, and his heart was filled with desire for the soul stones. However, Ning Shu still resisted the urge to absorb the soul power inside. Such impurities could not be absorbed. It was easy to absorb but difficult to remove. Ning Shu could still resist this temptation. After getting the soul stone she wanted, Ning Shu planned to leave. She didn't know if she would be able to make a fortune if she sold the soul stone, a local specialty. Ning Shu put away the soul stones. The little boy Ning Shu said, "Is there anything else you want to know? I can tell you." When the little boy saw Ning Shu take out another bottle of spirit liquid to sell, he guessed that she must have more spirit liquid. Ning Shu had more important things to do now, so he shook his head and left. When he reached a hidden place, he opened a black hole and walked into it, disappearing. Ning Shu returned to the system space and prepared to go to Water City to find Si Tian. He wanted to see if Si Tian could think of a way to purify the soul power in the soul stones. When he arrived at the auction house, Ning Shu said directly, "I'm looking for your boss." When Si Tian heard that Ning Shu had returned, his eyelids twitched. Thinking of how the city lord insisted on returning the goods, Si Tian felt a little helpless and went to the private room to see Ning Shu. When Ning Shu saw Si Tian, he put down his teacup and said, "I have something to talk to you about." Si Tian cupped his hands. "City Lord, Si Tian is willing to take back the law of nothingness stones. But only half price." Ning Shu said, "I have other things to talk to you about this time." As he said that, he placed a few soul stones on the table. "Take a look." Si Tian picked up the jade-like soul stones on the table and looked at them carefully. "There's soul power inside, and even soul origin?" Ning Shu nodded. Si Tian was a little surprised at first, but then he was a little disappointed. "There seems to be some impurities in it. It's not pure. If it was pure, it wouldn't have come looking for you." Ning Shu said, "Is there any way to get rid of the impurities? This is a little difficult. I don't think there's anything I can do." Si Tian placed the soul stone on the table and shook his head. "Let's just leave this thing here. Let's brainstorm together. We'll definitely come up with something. If this thing contains pure soul power, you'll be rolling in money," Ning Shu said. Si Tian cupped his hands and said, "City Lord must be joking. How can Si Tian be so lucky? Even if I came up with a solution, I wouldn't have a source of goods. How can I be so lucky?" Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and sipped his tea without saying a word. Si Tian continued, I don't know if there's a sufficient supply of this thing. It took a lot of effort to obtain it. Pure soul energy isn't a lot. The cost and the reward are not equal. The only thing that's worth a little is the soul origin. It seems that the soul stone mines in the Nine Palace Mountain are all occupied by the big families. If she could find an unowned mine, she would have a sufficient supply. Ning Shu shook his head. Si Tian said, although I don't know where the city lord found this thing, it's best not to absorb it directly. Ning Shu nodded and left a piece for Si Tian. He took the rest. Si Tian didn't seem to want to take this business. He was even trying to find out where this thing came from. Ning Shu had a strong sense of territory. He didn't want anyone to enter his world of reincarnation. Even if he found a soul stone mine, he would use the people in the Nine Palace Mountain to mine it. Ning Shu kept the other stones and was about to leave. Si Tian cupped his hands. Farewell, City Lord. Every time Ning Shu saw Si Tian acting like an ancient person, he was not used to it. However, everyone had their own habits. Ning Shu didn't say anything. After leaving the auction house, Ning Shu carried the stone to the silver-haired man's consultation room. After walking for a while, he still ended up here. It could only be said that enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Ning Shu walked into the consultation room. After all, he had plenty of money now. Ning Shu sat on a chair. The silver-haired man came out with a book in his hand. He sat down and asked, What do you want to ask? Ning Shu placed the soul stone on the table and pushed it in front of the silver-haired man. Is there any way to purify this thing? The silver-haired man picked it up and looked at it. How do you purify it? There must be a way to purify it. The soul power that the mission takers absorb is purified. Ning Shu asked, How do you purify it? The main system has special equipment to purify souls, the silver-haired man said, but you can't deal with this kind of thing. Where did you get this from? You can sell it to the main system. The system store can buy it, the silver-haired man said. Ning Shu, damn, does that mean I can't touch this kind of thing at all? At most, I'll get some merit or faith power from selling it. She had these things. What she lacked was soul power. She felt that there wasn't much soul power after every mission. Would it be better if there was an additional source of soul power? Ning Shu asked, other than selling it to the main system, is there any other way? Yes, if you have the ability to remove the impurities. It was like using water. Could you turn sewage into tap water by yourself? It couldn't be. Ning Shu, she wasn't strong enough to remove the impurities yet. It was already good enough that she could prevent herself from going crazy. If she could remove the impurities by herself, she wouldn't have come here. If you have a lot of this thing, you can sell it to the main system. Or if you don't want to sell it, I'll give you a proportion of the pure soul power, the silver-haired man said. Sigh. Ning Shu was a little tempted by this plan. She would provide the raw materials, the main system would be responsible for the purification, and then everyone would be divided according to a certain proportion. Everything she did was for the sake of obtaining additional soul power. But she hadn't dealt with the main system yet. Just by looking at the system store, Ning Shu felt that she might be cheated. There were sinkholes everywhere. But she didn't dare to absorb soul power that hadn't been purified. More or less, Ning Shu planned to take back the soul stone and leave. The time in the consultation room was calculated according to the time. The silver-haired man said, 1 soul stone as the consultation fee, and an additional 100 merit points. 100 merit points. Was that the tax she collected from the silver-haired man? Now she wanted to take it back. Not only did she want to take it back, but she also wanted a soul stone. Dream on. She had taken something from him before, and now she wanted to take it back. But the problem was that she walked here on her own. This was truly a rather sorrowful matter. Chapter 2064. The soul stone won't be used as a consultation fee. Ning Shu took back the soul stone. The silver-haired man said, I'm taking your soul stones to the main system to test if it can be purified. If I really want something from you, I want all your soul stones as a consultation fee. When the silver-haired man said this, There was a strong sense of arrogance in his tone. Even if I do this, what can you do to me? Ning Shu placed a soul stone on the table and said, I seriously doubt that my question is worth 100 merit points. Did he really not want to take back the taxes from before? Furthermore, it was exactly 100 merit points more or less. He seriously suspected that it was done on purpose. If you waste any more time, it won't be just 100 merit points, the silver-haired man said. Ning Shu took out 100 merit points and left. While she was at it, she also strengthened the barrier around Water City to prevent any problems from occurring. After that, she returned to the system space and asked 2333, how do I contact the main system? If it really can be purified, the main system will contact you. What you need to think about now is how to get a lot of soul stones. 2333 said. Did that mean he still had to enter the 9 Palace Mountain? The matter of the soul stones could not be rushed. Right now, the most important thing was to construct his own world. It would be better for him to do quests. He did not know if he could find any or veins. He was really making a ruckus here and there. He still had to go and complete the mission. Who knew, he might even be able to find the source of the world. Ning Shu said to 2333, let's go do the quest first. They could look for the veins later. She had plenty of time anyway. All right. Ning Shu felt dizzy for a moment as he fused with a body. However, Ning Shu immediately felt that something was amiss. He could not open his eyes. Additionally, he could not move his body. He could only hear some people chanting in his ears. The 1,000-faced peach blossoms are better than 100 flowers. The Lonely Glory Spring Festival Gala stays in the prime of time. If the Qin people see it, they will praise it to their old lovers in Hiu. There were even sounds of praise around him. Brother Li's poem is not bad. Brother Li is a genius. Ning Shu was completely integrated into a body. He couldn't open his eyes. He could only use his spiritual power to check himself. He seemed to have turned into a peach tree. The branches were decorated with buds and delicate flowers. Ning Shu, that was why she had turned into a peach tree. She wondered if it would bear peaches. In a pavilion not far away, a group of scholars dressed in formal attire were pointing at a peach blossom forest, each of them unruly. Ning Shu didn't care about these people. Instead, he looked at the place where she was. It seemed to be a temple and there were some monks. Ning Shu felt that this place was a little familiar. He felt that he had been to this place before. Moreover, this peach blossom forest was also very familiar. She must have been to a place like this before, surely. Generally speaking, if it wasn't something important, Ning Shu would throw it to the back of his mind and compress the information so that it wouldn't occupy his brain. However, Ning Shu had some impression of this temple. A group of scholars were still reciting poems. They were reciting poems about peach blossoms. Seeing that these scholars were wearing thick clothes, it should be late spring. The peach blossoms in the temple had actually bloomed. That meant that this temple was relatively high above sea level and was the first to bloom. That was why it attracted scholars and poets. These scholars were talking to their heart's content. They actually started to pick the peach blossoms and broke the branches. Some scholars even said that they would take the branches back and put them in vases. Some scholars came in front of Ning Shu and stretched out their hands to pick the flowers. A voice sounded, "Brother Su, this tree is the biggest in the peach blossom forest. Perhaps it already has spirituality. Brother Su, don't hurt it. It's better to find another tree." "Brother Li, I really like it. It's the biggest in this peach blossom forest. I heard that it has spirituality, so I picked a bouquet and put it in the study. Perhaps with this peach blossom, my thoughts will be like a fountain." Brother Su chuckled and said, "Brother Li, let's each pick a bouquet." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Inspiration was related to flower arrangement. Ning Shu very quickly accepted that he had become a peach tree. "I think I'll pass." Brother Li shook his head and turned to leave. After Brother Li left, this Brother Su spat, "Poor as can be, yet you're so particular. You're just fishing for fame. If you have the ability, why don't you pick the flowers in the garden?" Spirituality. All the peach blossoms in this garden are bathed in Buddhist light. They all have spirituality. This scholar muttered, Obviously, he was very disdainful of this brotherly. His disdain was obvious in his words. These words were all heard by Ning Shu. A feeling of annoyance appeared in his heart. He had a good impression of this brotherly. Ning Shu suppressed the emotions in his heart. Facing the fate of having his branches broken, Ning Shu wanted to directly use his mental power to throw this guy out. Amitabha. Benefactor, please be merciful. All things have spirituality. This peach tree has always been growing in the Wuyo temple. It was originally a peaceful place for Buddhists. Benefactor, please be merciful to these peach blossoms. A monk with a white beard walked over and said, there was a scar on his head. His expression was calm and compassionate. Just by standing there, it felt like Buddha had come into being. Everyone didn't dare to be slow. They quickly put their palms together and bowed back. Master Huiji. Ning Shu looked at Master Huiji in surprise. This guy couldn't be the little monk Huiji, right? The little kid back then had actually become an old man now. No wonder he felt familiar. Wasn't this the world where she was the witch of the demonic sect? She had some interactions with this little monk. Back then she was even joking. That scene surged into Ning Shu's mind. At that time, Ning Shu, Huiji, said, these peach blossoms listen to Sanskrit every day. Maybe they will develop Buddhist spirituality. Maybe a peach blossom demon will appear in your temple. That is good. Everything has a spirit. If a peach blossom really has intelligence because of Sanskrit, then it is fated with Buddha. Huiji replied. Ning Shu held his chin and looked at the little monk. He then looked at the peach blossoms outside. He had already imagined the tragic love story between the beautiful monk and the peach blossom demon. But whether or not a peach blossom demon would appear was not certain. Now, she had become a peach blossom demon, but Huiji had become the old monk Huiji. There was even a tragic love story between the beautiful monk and the peach blossom demon. Ning Shu wanted to wipe his face. So, there really was a peach blossom demon. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to counterattack. When he saw an old friend, Ning Shu was a little emotional. Each time he met a stranger, he had to start from the beginning. It was a familiar background and character, so he was able to enter the zone quickly. Old man, I haven't seen what Huiji looked like when he was young, but Huiji still looks dignified even when he's old. I reckon that when he was young, he was also a handsome bald man. It seemed like it wasn't a tragic love story between the beautiful monk and the peach blossom demon. This monk's Buddhist heart was firm and tragic love had nothing to do with him. Chapter 2065. Now, the peach blossom demon hadn't even transformed yet and Huiji was already so old. The age difference was too big. Since the abbot of the temple spoke, these scholars couldn't be thick-skinned and pick peach blossoms. Moreover, Huiji was an enlightened monk and even the royal family respected him. The scholars all expressed that the peach blossoms were too beautiful. If they could get an enlightened monk to read their fortune, if it was a life of great wealth and a pillar of the country, it would be twice the result with half the effort. Learning martial arts and selling to the royal family, wasn't this the ultimate goal? Women cultivated into jade color and sold to the royal family, it was all for the royal family and to work for them. However, Master Huiji didn't read people's fortunes often. There were only a few people who were read by him and all of them were important people. Huiji's style was a high-end and classy style. These scholars left in 2s and 3s. Those who passed by Huiji all bowed with Huiji. The last scholar, Brother Li, bowed towards Huiji. Huiji looked at Brother Li and said, "Young master will be rich in the future. You just have to do more good deeds and don't do anything that goes against human relations." Brother Li didn't expect that a master of virtue and prestige would actually read his fortune. Moreover, it was a fortune of great wealth. His family was poor and his parents had passed away early. He relied on his elder brother, but his elder sister-in-law was a sharp and unkind woman. Whenever she had nothing to do, she would viciously scold him by his ear, saying that he was a useless person who couldn't pass the exam and couldn't carry anything. Great wealth meant that he would definitely be able to pass the high school. Young master has a benefactor helping you, but you have a tribulation in your life. Whether it is good or bad depends on how you face it. Master Huiji added. Brother Li quickly bowed and suppressed his excitement. Thank you for your guidance. When the scholars who didn't go far heard the master's words, they were so jealous that their eyes almost turned red. Great wealth. Such a poor guy actually had a life of great wealth. What a joke. The only thing a poor scholar could do was pass the high school. Could it be that this person would pass the high school? Many scholars scoffed at Brother Li. After these scholars left, the old monk Huiji asked the little monk to clean up the pavilion. He then took a praying mat and a wooden fish and sat cross-legged on the praying mat. He slowly knocked on the wooden fish in front of him and chanted scriptures. When Ning Shu heard the scripture, he felt as comfortable as if he was soaking in warm water. The tree branch actually began to sway. Not only Ning Shu's tree, but all the peach trees in the peach forest were swaying in the wind. The old monk Huiji looked solemn. His snow-white eyebrows and beard drooped down. Ning Shu tried to accept the plot. Oh, this world seems to be the tragic love story of the peach blossom demon, but it's not with the beautiful monk, but with that Brother Li from before. That poor scholar Brother Li's surname was Li, and his given name was Hui. His family was destitute with nothing but books on the walls. His parents were dead, and he was living under someone else's roof. Luckily, he had some talent, but he didn't have any room to display it. His family didn't even have the money to send him to the capital for the imperial exam. Li Hui was just a capable person. He couldn't do the heavy work at home and had to live with his brother and sister-in-law. He was like a freeloader. He couldn't even help out when the farm was busy. When Li Hui's parents were still alive, they doted on this son. They did everything they could to provide for this son. They would give Li Hui all the good food at home. Even if they boiled an egg, they would give it to their son without a doubt. As a daughter-in-law, she was always hurt. The old couple passed away, and now she was targeting them. They hated Li Hui all the time. The key was that Li Hui always said that he was a human and didn't lower himself to her level. Luckily, his brother was an honest person and didn't chase his brother out of the house. If there was something to eat, he would give it to him. However, it was impossible for him to go to the capital for the imperial exam. Even if they bought the land, they wouldn't be able to afford it. Moreover, the prices in the capital were so high that if he didn't pass, his family wouldn't be able to survive. Now, he was just living like this. There was no one to support him. It wasn't that no one supported him. It was the landlord's family. They wanted to marry their daughter to him, but Li Hui refused. The landlord's daughter was fat and only knew how to eat every day. Her face was round like a plate and her waist was like a water tank. She didn't have the slightest attitude of a woman. In people's eyes, a woman should have half-curved phoenix eyes with amber hidden. Her red lips were like cherries, her smile was like a blooming flower, and her voice was like jade. Bright and clear like the moon covered by light clouds, drifting like snow in the wind. This was a woman. The landlord's daughter was a pig. Li Hui refused. If he married this kind of woman, wouldn't he be laughed at by the other disciples? Li Hui's refusal made his sister-in-law even more sarcastic. He didn't even look at himself. Could it be that he wanted to marry a fairy beauty? His family was so poor that he couldn't even afford to eat. He only knew how to be poor. However, Li Hui really met a fairy beauty. This beauty's face was like a peach blossom. Her figure was slim and graceful. She was refined like a flower shining on water. Her actions were like the wind and willows. She was like the difference between heaven and earth with the landlord's daughter. Li Hui followed this woman to the mountains and found that this woman lived alone in a straw hut in the mountains. He found an opportunity to strike up a conversation with the woman and asked her name. The woman bowed and said, "Tao Yao." Li Hui murmured, "Tao Yao Yao, dazzling. The son of Yu Ge, suitable for his wife's family. The Tao Yao Yao, suitable for his wife's family. The Tao Yao Yao, suitable for Yi Zhenzhen. The son of Yu Ge, suitable for his family. You really deserve the name Tao Yao. Thank you, young master, for your praise." Tao Yao said calmly. After a while, Li Hui and Tao Yao gradually became familiar with each other. They had a good impression of each other and lived together. Li Hui's life was taken care of by someone. There was also a beauty by his side. His days were very comfortable. However, Li Hui gradually became worried. Tao Yao asked him why. Li Hui said that he had talent but was not used. Because of money, he was burdened by money and had no way to show his talent. Tao Yao had no choice. After thinking about it, he could only use weaving to earn money for Li Hui. However, weaving was a very slow job. Li Hui was about to participate in the autumn examination. If he missed it, he would have to wait for the next time. Tao Yao had no choice. He ran back to Wuyu Temple and found Huiji. He said, "Master, please lend me money so that Li can participate in the imperial examination." Tao Yao promised to slowly weave to repay the money in the future. Huiji said, "Do you know what will happen to you if he falls in love with you? You are a mountain spirit and he is a person who covets the riches of the world. The two of you will not have a good ending together. Master, please lend me money." Tao Yao knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Huiji. "You are half a Buddhist disciple, but now you are deeply in love. This is the root of disaster." Huiji shook his head and gave Tao Yao a bag of money. Chapter 2066. Ning Shu could figure out the rest of the story even if he used his hair. Humans and demons were different. This kind of thing never had a good ending. There were actually a lot of lies. "When I rule the world, I promise you the world as your home. When I rule the world, I'm afraid you're a captive flower. When I have nothing to worry about, I promise you to wander the world. When you have nothing to worry about, I'm afraid you're no longer a beauty. When I'm a soldier for half of my life, I promise you I'll talk with you. When I'm a soldier for half of my life, my childhood sweetheart is already married. When I'm successful and famous, I promise you you'll enjoy the flowers under the moon. When you're successful and famous, the person in your arms will have a rich family. When I'm tall and strong, I promise you a red wedding dress. When you're tall and strong, I'll marry my own husband. When I'm rich and glorious, I promise you 10 miles of peach blossoms. When you're rich and glorious, your beauty will wither and turn into sand. When a man is poor and down, a heavenly beauty who can turn stone into gold appears, allowing him to rise to glory." Actually, the existence of this peach blossom demon was Li Hui's cheat. Although Li Hui was born in a poor family, he had never suffered much since he was young. His parents died and he relied on his brother and sister-in-law. His brother and sister-in-law couldn't give him a future. Now, a peach blossom demon appeared. It was indeed a benefactor who helped Li Hui to rise to the top. Li Hui was in high school and the person in his arms was from a rich family. This kind of result wasn't strange at all. A man had 3 blessings: promotion, wealth, and a dead wife. To gain a foothold in the officialdom, he had to have a father-in-law who supported him. Then, the existence of the peach blossom demon was like a fishbone stuck in one's throat. If Li Hui only killed the person, it would be fine. However, the Taoist priest that Li Hui found to deal with the peach blossom demon killed the peach blossom demon and even took the peach blossom demon's soul. He made it into a magic weapon and trapped it in a jade pendant. From then on, this jade pendant became Li Hui's protective talisman. Every time Li Hui encountered something, it could turn misfortune into a blessing. Of course, these injuries were damaging Tao Yao's soul. Li Hui's career was like being helped by God. He became more and more powerful. From a commoner under the control of the aristocratic families to a level where he was only second to one and above tens of thousands. It was really inspiring. If Tao Yao was reaping what he sowed, he also caused Master Huiji, who gave him life, to pass away. Tao Yao used his last bit of strength to ask for a counterattack, saying that he would offer up all of his soul power. Ning Shu smacked his lips. Back then, the peach yao had been used as a magic tool, but its soul power had already been nearly depleted. Even if it used all of its soul power to counterattack, it wouldn't be able to do much. Ning Shu rubbed his chin in deep thought. Of course, he had no hands or chin. This was originally a martial arts world. How did it develop in the direction of mountain ghosts and strange stories? He didn't know how much time had passed in this plane. This mission was naturally to save Tao Yao from certain death and save the little monk Huiji. Of course, Li Hui was not to be let off either. Ning Shu thought to himself, and he felt that there was something staring at him from the sky, giving him immense pressure. He immediately suppressed the bad thoughts in his heart. Ning Shu looked at Huiji, who was reciting scriptures in the pavilion, and sighed. If it was the peerless Baldy, perhaps he would have a relationship with the monk and wouldn't have fallen to this extent. Although Huiji's Buddhist heart was stable and his heart towards Buddhism was firm, he wouldn't treat Tao Yao like this. He might even tell Tao Yao to cut off his ill-fated relationship and convert to Buddhism every day. These kinds of stories about lazy scholars and mountain spirits were all over the streets. Beauties and anything else would be presented to you. Ning Shu looked up at the sky and felt that the heavens might had locked onto her. It was a very heavy feeling. It wasn't easy for mountain spirits to form. Why were they staring at her all the time? Did they think that she was beautiful? Perhaps Ning Shu's thoughts had challenged the heavens' might. The sky exploded with a boom and a huge thunder rumbled. Ning Shu instinctively curled up her branches, afraid of being struck by lightning. Mountain spirits were most afraid of lightning. Lightning was the most young in the world, and these mountain spirits were very afraid of being struck by lightning. It wasn't easy for them to cultivate and take form, but they were struck to death in the end. In particular, mountain spirits were even more afraid of lightning. In many mountain forests, hundreds of years-old trees were suddenly struck by lightning and turned into charred wood. Sigh, the tribulation had failed. Ning Shu could only silently say in her heart, "Master, I was wrong." Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Although she absorbed the power of lightning, it could be used to cultivate peerless martial arts. If she took it head-on, she would definitely become a burning stick. The thunder interrupted Huiji's chanting. Huiji held the wooden fish and looked at the clear sky. The sudden sound of thunder was especially strange. Huiji stopped chanting and let the novice monk put away the praying mat and wooden fish. He then fetched water to water the peach blossoms in the peach garden. Huiji carried the bucket of water in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu felt that Huiji's body was really healthy. His beard and eyebrows were all white, but he could still carry a bucket of water. His body was very strong. Huiji used the gourd ladle to scoop water from the bucket and poured it on the roots of the peach trees. Ning Shu felt that there was a faint spiritual energy in the spring water and hurriedly absorbed it. No wonder the peach trees could become spirits. It was because they were bathed in Buddha's light, and the temple's spring water had a bit of spiritual energy. Although it had a bit of Buddha nature, it didn't understand love and hate and fell into the most beautiful love in the world. Ning Shu stretched out a branch and touched Huiji's bald head. Time was like a butcher's knife. The little kid back then had already become so old. What did time do to him? Huiji felt that his head was itchy. He turned his head and saw that Ning Shu had stopped moving. Huiji continued to water the other peach trees. He probably noticed it but didn't care. Maybe Huiji had already noticed that the peach trees had spirituality. With the help of the other novice monks, a patch of peach blossoms was finally watered. Huiji placed down the gourd ladle and clasped his hands together. He chanted Amitabha. Although his voice wasn't loud, the entire peach forest could hear Huiji's voice. Ning Shu felt that something had merged into his body. It was warm, transparent, pure, and comfortable. It was probably the Buddha's body. Huiji had given Tao Yao a new life. Without Huiji, there probably wouldn't be Tao Yao. Tao Yao caused Huiji to pass away. Part of it was because of Li Huiji. It was more or less a revenge for the death of one's father. Moreover, Tao Yao probably worshipped Huiji. Tao Yao respected Huiji a lot. Ning Shu, who had turned into a peach tree, was really bored every day. She couldn't cultivate and could only slowly absorb the essence of the sun and moon. When there was no one around, she would shake her branches and rain petals. The heavens were always locking onto her. If she did anything bad in the future, would a bolt of lightning strike her? Humans were a race of fate, but they were much stricter towards mountain spirits. Maybe it was normal for a person to end up like that. After all, she was a monster. Chapter 2067. Demons and monsters were also proficient in illusory techniques, and their transformations were unpredictable. With a smile, they could become a beauty, and with a turn, they could become an old man. With their left hand, they could create a pavilion and a mansion, and with their right hand, they could create a family fortune in slow motion. However, it was useless. In the end, they would still be hung up and beaten. The demons expressed their sadness. Anything that didn't make sense would be related to demons. The flood was the work of demons, the plague was the work of demons, the earthquake was the work of demons, and when I was caught in bed with someone, it was that vixen who seduced me first. Demons could be said to be the role models of scapegoats, and no one could surpass them. During the period when the peach blossoms were blooming, the Wio Temple was also quite lively. There was an endless stream of people admiring the flowers. Every day, scholars and poets would recite poems and couplets while facing the peach blossoms. Ning Shu's ears were about to grow calluses from listening to them. Ning Shu saw Li Hui in the group of scholars. Li Hui's clothes were not bad, but Ning Shu saw through his spiritual power that his inner clothes were patched up. She guessed that the outermost clothes he wore were his best clothes. Ning Shu couldn't help but think of a word: failure. Li Hui was quite good-looking. Wearing good clothes, his eyes were clear and bright, and his skin was delicate and white. He was obviously a child from a poor family, but he was raised to be so delicate and tender. Since young, Dada was a person who did not do much. From the looks of it, he was an inconsiderate person. Although he looked wealthy, his cheekbones were a little high and a little mean. Harsh and merciless. Perhaps Li Hui found out that the client was a mountain spirit, but he accepted the client's help with a clear conscience. Perhaps the client was willing to contribute without asking for anything in return. However, Li Hui wanted to make her into a magic tool. Even after she died, he still wanted to exploit her and make her unable to reincarnate. This was a bit disappointing. It was just a wild beast. Ning Shu clicked his tongue in his heart. As for Li Hui's words, it was just like what the other scholars had said. He was just trying to show off his noble character. Logically speaking, if one was literate, they could do many things. They could write letters to people and write couplets during festivals. They could also make a living. However, Li Hui felt that he was very noble and would not do such things. Every time there was such a banquet, Li Hui would be invited. After all, Li Hui had some talent and could come to support the occasion. If he wasn't invited, he would come himself. Li Hui thought that this was an opportunity to expand his network. Tao Yao was mesmerized by Li Hui's appearance. He muttered something about Tao Ji Yao Yao, and Tao Yao changed his name to Tao Yao. For example, the last time when someone wanted to pluck the flowers, Li Hui spoke up to stop them. This made Tao Yao's impression of this scholar go through the roof. Although it wasn't a big deal to have a bunch of flowers plucked, this scholar was really kind. How could she not know much about the world? After that, whenever Li Hui came to Wuyu Temple, Tao Yao would stare at Li Hui and memorize his poems. She was like a little fangirl. No matter how she looked at her idol, he was handsome. Ning Shu yawned. With so many people, the air became dirty. It was better for her to wait for them to leave before she absorbed the essence of the sun and moon. Who knew when she would be struck by lightning and become a human? When Ning Shu was bored, she would observe Li Hui. Li Hui saw that the scholars of the same sect looked envious and disappointed. There was deep hatred in the depths of his eyes. Every time the client saw Li Hui, Tao Yao's heart ached for him. He was a talented man, but because of his family, he couldn't fulfill his dreams. It really hurt. Ning Shu, actually, it would be better if these people didn't come. However, Wu Temple's peach blossom forest was more famous. If they didn't let these scholars come, they would probably write poems and scold people at the entrance of the temple. A scholar's mouth and pen were the most powerful. Huiji probably couldn't do anything about it. After all, Wuyu Temple still relied on pilgrims to provide for it. Luckily, when the flowers withered and bore peaches, these scholars wouldn't come. Otherwise, they would think that they were here to eat peaches. Scholars treated money like dirt. They definitely wouldn't do such a petty thing. However, Li Hui ate a lot of these peaches. They were all given to him by the client. Actually, the client rarely ate and only ate bland things. He basically didn't eat meat. As half a Buddhist disciple, the client didn't kill. Sometimes, he didn't even sleep at night to absorb the essence of the sun and moon. It was inevitable that Li Hui would see it. It was inevitable that people like Li Hui would succeed. He was ruthless and took what needed to be taken away. As long as he could live a better life, even if he knew that the client was different from ordinary people, he didn't say anything. She could only blame the client for thinking too highly of people. Just a few words and he made her have a good impression of him. To judge a person's character, one had to look at their actions. If they said that money was a sin, they would take it. If they said that beauty was a disaster, they would climb to the top. If they said that smoking and drinking were harmful to the body, they wouldn't quit. If they said that heaven was beautiful, they wouldn't go. This world was full of lies. To truly see a person's true colors, one had to look at their actions. Sweet nothings came out effortlessly from his mouth. He didn't lose anything at all. If they really wanted to give something, they would take action. They wouldn't just enjoy what you gave with a clear conscience. After these scholars and pilgrims left, there were novice monks who came to clean the pavilion and the peach blossom forest. Huiji would come to the pavilion every day to chant scriptures. Ning Shu felt that the little monk Huiji could be considered a living Buddha. Every time he chanted, Ning Shu felt that there was energy flowing into her body. In order to speed up her transformation, Ning Shu desperately absorbed the energy, hoping that she could transform faster. Under Ning Shu's efforts, on a dark and windy night, a bolt of lightning struck and Ning Shu appeared. Of course, the feeling of being struck by lightning was heart-wrenching. It was as if her soul was being torn apart. Her entire body was in pain as if she was being electrocuted. Moreover, it came one after another. It felt as if she would only stop after being struck into ashes. Ning Shu was rooted to the ground and had nowhere to hide. She could only endure the lightning strikes on her body. Ning Shu could only grit her teeth and endure, hoping that the lightning would pass quickly. She didn't dare to challenge the heavens. What if she was struck to death? Huiji put on his clothes and came over. Seeing the lightning on the peach blossom tree, he chanted Amitabha. He sat cross-legged on the ground and started chanting. Huiji's chanting gave Ning Shu some strength. The power of the lightning gradually weakened and dissipated. Ning Shu felt that her body was filled with energy again. The peach blossom tree transformed into a body, wearing a set of pink clothes. Ning Shu touched her face. She could finally walk around. She was rooted to the ground and couldn't move. Ning Shu walked in front of Huiji with her hands behind her back and shouted, "Little monk, no, old monk." Huiji opened his eyes and saw Ning Shu's peach blossom face. His expression was normal. Chapter 2068. Upon seeing an old friend, Ning Shu sized up Huiji. Although his eyebrows and beard were white, there were no wrinkles or age spots on his face. His eyes were still clear and transparent. Even when his beard was white, his eyes were still pure, reflecting her peach blossom face. The filth of the world seemed unable to get close to him. To be honest, seeing such a young monk, no old monk, he really wanted to press him into ink. Being sized up by Ning Shu, Huiji stood up and bowed. "Since you already have a human form, you should convert to Buddhism. You are bathed in the Buddhist light and are a person with wisdom." Ning Shu tapped his chin and looked at Huiji. "Young monk, no, old monk, how long have you lived?" "This penniless monk has lived for more than 150 years, said Huiji. 150? Huiji had lived for so long. He was probably good at maintaining his health. With his age, he could apply for the Guinness Book of Records. It was no wonder that the person who commissioned him could become a spirit. After all, he had bathed in the Buddhist light for more than 100 years. Then, he wouldn't be able to see people from the past. Things remained the same, but people had changed. Ning Shu bowed. "Thank you for saving me, master." Huiji nodded. "You were born with good looks. Don't walk around the mortal world. The world is so big. I still want to see it," said Ning Shu with his hands behind his back. Huiji frowned. Why was she so disobedient? Were all mountain spirits so playful? It was worrying. The girl who jumped out didn't seem easy to deal with. Huiji frowned and his drooping eyebrows twitched. Ning Shu really wanted to pull Huiji's eyebrows. Huiji had probably been serious since he was young. In the plot, Huiji helped Tao Yao, who was being pursued by a Taoist priest. In the end, he passed away with old arms and legs. To Qiao, Master Huiji was like a parent. After Master Huiji was killed, Tao Yao almost risked his life to kill the Taoist. The rules of heaven and earth had greater restrictions on the spiritual monsters in the mountains. Once a spiritual monster did something harmful, it would be killed after a period of time. The consequences would be more severe each time. When the Taoist saw how vicious Tao Yao was, he directly captured her soul to make her atone for her sins. She then became the soul of the magic tool. Time and time again, she had no choice but to protect the safety of the person she hated. She was tortured to death. The person she once loved was now in the arms of another person. Watching him walk step by step on the road to success, he asked himself if he was oppressed. He was simply oppressed to the point of bleeding. Sometimes, one really couldn't stand being willful in life. Perhaps the person who had entrusted Li Hui with a pure heart had never thought that she would end up in such a tragic state. Ning Shu analyzed for a moment. As long as a woman of low status followed Li Hui, he would still abandon his wife and children. However, because the person who entrusted him was a demon, he would not be able to rest in peace even in death. Whether it was a human woman or a spiritual monster, they were just stepping stones for Li Hui. If Tao Yao didn't suffer such a fate, other women would suffer such a fate. Unless the woman's status was noble, it would be difficult for her to escape such an ending. Selfish, cold, mean, and ungrateful. Ning Shu said, "Master, I'm a little hungry. Is there anything to eat?" The mission this time was to protect this old man. He was supposed to be a person who could become Buddha, but he died just like that. Huiji saved Tao Yao because he truly bemoaned the state of the universe and pitied the fate of mankind. He felt that all things had spirits and were fated with Buddhism. If he could convert them, it was better than an ignorant spiritual monster who didn't know the world of humans and didn't know anything about the mortal world. It was better than harming people without knowing anything. It was really a great ideal. He was really doing it to save all living beings. When Huiji heard that Ning Shu wanted to eat, he didn't know why, but when he saw her like this, he inexplicably thought of her. When he saw an unscrupulous woman, his heart was so tired. Huiji went to Ning Shu to cook a bowl of vegetarian noodles. Ning Shu sat in the pavilion and shook her legs. When she saw the vegetarian noodles, she picked up her chopsticks and started eating. The noodle soup is quite delicious. Is it chicken soup? Ning Shu asked as she sucked on the noodles. Huiji was speechless. Amitba. The soup made from wild mushrooms is not chicken soup. Monks don't kill. Huiji had lived for so long and had long cultivated self-restraint. He explained to Ning Shu and didn't take Ning Shu's words to heart. He just treated it as a mountain spiritual monster who had just transformed and was similar to a baby. However, this personality, it needed to be polished. It seemed that she wasn't someone who could sit still and meditate. As Ning Shu ate the noodles, she said to Huiji, "I want to go out for a walk. How have you been all these years? Haven't you walked through the mortal world?" Amitba. I naturally walk through the mortal world. I have to enter the mortal world to save the world. It's just that you have just transformed. There are many things in the mortal world that you don't know. You don't know about the greed, anger, stupidity, hatred, love, and evil desires of the mortal world. Moreover, your appearance will attract the covetous of some evil people, Huiji said. If you want to join my Buddhist sect, I will accept you as my disciple. Ning Shu supported her head and said, "If I don't experience greed, anger, stupidity, hatred, love, and evil desires, how can I become a Buddha? I'm just afraid that you will be blinded by the mortal world." Huiji frowned. This spiritual monster. If I'm blinded by the mortal world, you can come and save me. Let me turn back from the sea of suffering, Ning Shu said with a smile. When the time comes, I will definitely listen to Master and turn back to the shore. Brat. This feeling emerged in Huiji's heart. Ning Shu made a proper Buddhist bow. Thank you for your kindness, Master. If it wasn't for Huiji, there wouldn't be Tao Yao. Huiji stroked his beard. Then you are my disciple. I want to go out for a walk, Ning Shu said. If she didn't go out, how could she meet Li Hui? How could she send warmth to Li Hui? Huiji, it felt like all the words he said before were in vain. However, spiritual monsters who transformed were all babies. They were all temperamental and didn't know good or evil. Huiji patiently said, "It's not that I don't want you to go out. It's just that the outside world is something you can't deal with right now. You can become a lay disciple first." "Monk, is it really okay for me to be a woman in your temple?" Ning Shu asked. "We are all living beings, regardless of gender. Only those who have evil in their hearts would look at others with eyes blinded by the mortal world," Huiji said calmly. He was practically glowing from head to toe. Ning Shu, fuck, why does it sound like he's saying that she's blinded by the mortal world? He definitely wasn't talking about her. Although she was full of the scent of the mortal world. Ning Shu's heart surged with a sour feeling. There was guilt, discomfort, and an indescribable feeling of dependence. In Tao Yao's heart, Huiji really was like a father. Ning Shu nodded. "All right, I'll stay here for a while before leaving. Master, please take care of me." She had even become Huiji's disciple. She was inferior to him for a lifetime. In the past, they had interacted as equals. Now, when she saw Huiji, she still had to bow. Chapter 2069. Huiji was already prepared to talk to this peach blossom demon until dawn, but the other party immediately agreed. This temper. It was a little bad. "All right, from tomorrow morning onwards, you will do morning lessons with me. Do you want to stay in the peach blossom forest or find a room to stay in?" Huiji stood up and patted his old waist. "Of course I want to sleep on the bed. I'm a little tired of living in the peach blossom forest for so long," Ning Shu said. "Shouldn't peach blossoms be gentle? Shouldn't it be like those scholars who recited that it was suitable for a family? So direct?" Huiji could only attribute it to the wild spirit of the mountain that had not been removed and did things according to its heart. There are some etiquette in the human world that you still have to learn. Since you want to enter the world, you should integrate into the mortal world, Huiji said gently. "Thank you for your guidance, Master." "Master, go and rest. Don't stay up late, you will have dark circles," Ning Shu said. Huiji was really tired. His heart was tired. It was similar to that arrogant woman. Could it be that he was the reincarnation of a woman? "Huiji, what hatred?" Ning Shu found a side room and settled down. Then she sat cross-legged on the bed and began to cultivate. What she cultivated was a secret book suitable for the cultivation of plant spirits. She had a lot of secret books in her hands. Usually she would use peerless martial arts. However, Ning Shu tested it. Cultivating peerless martial arts was not as useful as cultivating a secret manual specially designed for plants. Moreover, it gathered spirit energy faster. Ning Shu opened her eyes. Her hand turned into vines that crawled all over the room. However, the spirit energy was also used up. In order to conserve spirit energy, she could only use them one by one. Ning Shu retracted her vines and raised her head to look at the sky. She felt that there was always a dark cloud above her head that followed her like a shadow. Who knew when a bolt of lightning would strike down? This feeling was really terrible. Which human had a dark cloud above their head? They were too biased. Ning Shu only dared to think in her heart. What if another bolt of lightning struck down? He was covered in golden light, but she had a dark cloud above her head? Although spiritual monsters had some strength, the restrictions on them were quite strong. If Ning Shu were to run over and kill the blessed Li Hui now, he would definitely be punished by the heavens. Initially, Ning Shu thought that she was here for a vacation. At first, Ning Shu felt that her mission was really simple. Wasn't he just a poor scholar? But the heavens were helping him. Was she really not in a Strange Stories from a Chinese studio? It was really like a story that required women to sacrifice themselves for men. When a man was poor, he would have a beautiful demon to give him warmth. When he was rich, he would have a rich young lady and a princess. The demon would even become his protective talisman, reaping all the benefits. Pure fantasy. Ning Shu did not dare to put his hands on his hips and curse the heavens. He could only cultivate silently. Then he closed his eyes and fell asleep. It seemed that he had just fallen asleep when he heard a loud bell ring. Ning Shu sat up straight. It was time for the morning lesson. Ning Shu drank a mouthful of water and was about to go to the main hall when someone knocked on the door. A novice monk outside said, "Junior brother, it's time for the morning lesson." Ning Shu nodded. When he reached the main hall, all the monks looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu was a beautiful girl. When such a girl appeared in the temple, the monks all whispered to each other. When some of the younger monks saw Ning Shu's face, they immediately shrank back as if they had been scalded. Their faces turned red. Ning Shu calmly found a futon and sat down. Huiji said loudly, "This is Bodhi." All right, even the name was changed. Ning Shu did not have any objections. Previously, she did not tell Huiji what her name was. Now, she gave herself the name Bodhi. One flower, one world, one leaf, one Bodhi. Ning Shu clasped her hands together. "Thank you, Master." "Master, this is a little inappropriate." A middle-aged monk frowned and said. Huiji said calmly, "What's inappropriate about it? Living in the world is just a matter of appearance. It doesn't matter whether one is a man or a woman. What's important is the heart of Buddha." "Bodhi, don't you think so?" Huiji asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu clasped her hands together. "Master, you're right. All right, let's start the morning lesson." Huiji closed his eyes and started chanting. All the monks chanted together. The sound of chanting spread throughout the main hall. It was low and deep, forming a special aura. Ning Shu felt a warm thing enter his body. It should be the Buddhist light. Bathed in the Buddhist light, Ning Shu could not feel the dark clouds above his head. It really gave people a strong impulse to become a monk. Huiji had the golden merit light and directly chased the dark clouds away. The dark clouds above his head gave people a really depressing feeling. Ning Shu closed her eyes and immersed herself in the scriptures. Her heart was calm. After the morning class, Ning Shu went to the temple's cafeteria for breakfast. The monks, who had been instilled with the idea that women were fiercer than tigers, immediately hid far away when they saw Ning Shu, allowing Ning Shu to take the food first. Ning Shu realized that Huiji's way of health was to be hungry. To be precise, he only ate half of every meal. Huiji said to stuff his stomach full. If he couldn't eat any more, that would be greed. Ning Shu transformed into a human and stayed in the temple. At first, the monks were not used to Ning Shu, a girl who suddenly appeared. But as time passed, they got used to ignoring her. She learned a lot of scriptures from Huiji. That was how willful her memory was. Huiji also brainwashed Ning Shu, saying that Ning Shu had the root of wisdom and shouldn't think about the evil fate in the mortal world. Studying Buddhism was the right thing to do. Ning Shu said, "Master, I want to enter the world." Huiji didn't say anything. He just told Ning Shu to be careful. He said that people's hearts were sinister and that etiquette was broken. She had to be careful. Then, is human nature good or evil? Ning Shu asked. Huiji said kindly, "Of course, human nature is evil. Babies don't know what's right and wrong. They don't know what's good or evil. Postnatal education is to guide them to be good. If human nature is good, why would they need to be guided? When you walk in the mortal world, you just have to remember that human nature is evil. It's just that some people are guided to be good and some people don't succeed." Ning Shu nodded. "I understand. Master, you're right. Enter the world to save people. If you can help, do it. You also have to remember to protect yourself. If you can't even convert yourself, how can you convert others?" Huiji said calmly. Ning Shu nodded. "Master, you're right. Since ancient times, there have been many men and women. Don't fall into the tribulations of love and lose your own heart. Moreover, you're a mountain spirit. Humans and demons have different paths. Those who are not of our race will be killed. You have to remember your identity." Ning Shu said, "Master, you're right." Huiji was speechless. Huiji didn't know if the girl had listened to him. He said, "Go." Ning Shu said in surprise, "Master, aren't you going to give me some money or something?" "Beg for alms. Since you want to enter the world, you have to feel the pain of the world." Huiji gave Ning Shu a bowl for begging. No, for begging. Chapter 2070. Ning Shu looked at the alms bowl and asked, "Why isn't it a golden alms bowl? Why would you use a golden alms bowl to beg for alms? Such a flashy action isn't a Buddhist disciple." Huiji said, "Begging for alms is to let you feel the pain of the world. The lower you stand, the more you can understand. What if someone has evil intentions towards me if I go to beg for alms with my appearance?" Ning Shu asked again. "You have to bear the burden of being beautiful when you are born beautiful," Huiji said. Back then, wasn't he also wanted to do that? Furthermore, he was still a child. If I go out like this and provoke someone to have evil intentions towards me, what is this action of mine? Is it like Buddha cutting his flesh to feed the eagle, sacrificing himself and attracting evil thoughts in people's hearts? Ning Shu asked. Huiji was speechless. "Why do you always talk back?" "Sorry. What you are doing is not good," Huiji said. Ning Shu nodded. "The so-called good is to use the interests of the masses as the standard. If it goes against the interests of the masses, then my actions are evil. If my interests go against the interests of the masses, then I am not kind." Huiji was silent for a moment. If there is no conflict of interest, harming others is evil. What if there is a conflict of interest? Ning Shu asked. "There is only one position," Huiji said. "What if I want to destroy the world and then my strength increases?" Ning Shu asked. "Of course that is evil. What feud does the world have with you?" Huiji said. "But my interests are guaranteed, while the interests of the majority of people are not. Is this evil?" Ning Shu retorted. Huiji asked, "Why must you destroy the world so that your strength can increase?" "Because I want to." "What a worrying child. Alright, take the things and go." "If you don't want to go, stay in the temple and cultivate Buddhism with me," Huiji said. "There are some principles that you don't have to distinguish. Use your heart to make a choice." "I'd better go out and take a look." Ning Shu took the bowl and looked at it. "Did you use this?" "No, it's new," Huiji said. "Master, I'm leaving now. Take care of yourself." Ning Shu turned around and turned into an old woman with white hair. She had no teeth in her mouth and her face was full of wrinkles. She didn't look like a beauty at all. Ning Shu felt that being able to transform into whatever he wanted was a characteristic of monsters. Although there was a dark cloud above his head, he could still transform into whatever he wanted. This skill was simply too amazing. This skill was given to demons because there were humans who needed demons to turn stone into gold for them. They could create many things that they wanted, such as fertile land, luxurious mansions, beautiful servants. Ning Shu coughed and held the bowl in his hand. He said to Huiji in a hoarse voice, "Master, can you give me something to eat? This old lady has been starving for half a month." Huiji put 2 copper coins in the bowl. "Remember the rules of Buddhism when you go out. Don't be too reckless and arouse suspicion. Don't reveal your identity to others. Do you understand?" Ning Shu put away the 2 copper coins and said, "Master, I'll remember." Huiji took off the Buddha beads on his wrist and handed them to Ning Shu. "These are the Buddha beads that have always been with me. Take them with you. With the blessing of the Buddha's light, you will be safer." Ning Shu waved his hand and said, "No need. Master, you should keep them for yourself. I have my own ability." Huiji didn't force him and said, "You are a mountain spirit. Don't do anything outrageous. Otherwise, you will be struck by lightning like when you transformed." Ning Shu rolled her eyes and looked at the dark clouds above her head. She felt that a bolt of lightning would strike her head at any moment. "Master, I'll be leaving," Ning Shu said. Huiji nodded. Ning Shu waved his hand. "Go." "I'm really leaving." Ning Shu walked out and looked back at Huiji. Huiji waved his hand. Ning Shu asked, "Master, are you really not going to give me some money?" Huiji was speechless. Huiji waved his hand. Ning Shu didn't want to use this ability. He felt that if he used it too much, he would definitely return it when the time came. Ning Shu walked out of the Wio temple in the appearance of an old woman. She hummed a tune along the way and searched for the world's origin. Even the dark clouds above her head couldn't stop Ning Shu from jumping for joy. She turned around with her hands behind her back. With a tap of her finger, she set up a barrier above the Wuyo Temple. If the Wuyo Temple encountered any danger, the barrier would envelop it. Then, Ning Shu went down the mountain. This world was similar to the one she came from. Counting the time, it had been more than 100 years. She couldn't see her old acquaintances anymore. Furthermore, the demonic sect didn't seem to exist anymore. It didn't seem to have disappeared. Instead, it had moved outside the pass. Ning Shu held the alms bowl and walked into the town in ragged clothes. Here, the client met Li Hui. Li Hui should be in the village around the town. Li Hui was from a poor family with a clean record. Ning Shu walked to the bun shop and prepared to take out a copper coin to buy a vegetarian bun. Since she was a Buddhist disciple, she should eat vegetarian food. The client didn't eat meat either. The boss of the bun shop saw Ning Shu and wanted to chase her away. However, when he saw the copper coin, he smiled and gave Ning Shu a vegetarian bun. Ning Shu sat on the side of the street and ate a bun. She held the alms bowl in one hand and sized up the people coming and going. She felt that some changes had happened in this world. The spiritual energy seemed to be abundant. In the past, it was just a martial arts world. Now, there were monsters. This was developing into a fantasy world. She didn't know if there were other monsters in this world. Fox spirits, ginseng spirits, etc. Ding! A copper coin jumped into Ning Shu's alms bowl. Ning Shu saw a maid throw the money into her alms bowl. Ning Shu smiled and said, "Thank you. Our young miss feels sorry for you." The maid said with her hands on her waist. Ning Shu looked at the sedan and saw a young miss with half of her face exposed. Ning Shu thanked her. "Thank you, young miss. I'll recite a Buddhist scripture for you." Ning Shu silently recited the prayer scripture and then accepted the copper coin with a clear conscience. "Here you are. Our young miss sees that you know how to repay kindness. This pastry is for you." The maid gave Ning Shu a handkerchief with the pastry wrapped in it. Ning Shu took the handkerchief and put the pastry in the alms bowl. She returned the handkerchief to the maid and said, "Take your young miss and leave quickly. If you give me the pastry, more people will come to ask for it later." The young maidservant looked around and saw that many beggars were looking in this direction and were coming over. The maid was shocked. She quickly returned to the sedan and said something to her young miss. Then she asked the sedan bearers to carry the sedan away. Seeing that their target was gone, these beggars surrounded Ning Shu and wanted to snatch Ning Shu's food. Chapter 2071. Ning Shu ate the pastry in a few bites and then glided away. Pretending to be an old woman was not as useful as pretending to be a monk. Ning Shu pretended to be an old monk with a white beard. He held a bowl in his hand and then went from house to house begging for food, begging for alms. If the owner gave him a bite to eat, Ning Shu would recite a prayer. If not, then forget it. Ning Shu left the town and went all the way to the village. Of course, he was going to Li Hui's village. Then he walked to an ordinary farmer's house. From afar, he could hear a sharp and harsh voice cursing, "What the hell are you doing cooped up at home all day long? You don't do anything and think you can become the top scholar. Your brother works in the fields every day on such a hot day. He is so oily from the sun. You lie at home all day long. It would be strange if a trash like you can become the top scholar. You dress up like a dog and recite poems every day. You don't even look at yourself. Your heart is higher than the sky. You won't be able to become a high school student. You will starve to death as a peasant." Ning Shu listened to the farmer's woman's curses and finally understood that Li Hui would have a meteoric rise in the future. He let his brother divorce this woman and found a young and beautiful woman for his brother. Li Hui, who was in the house, heard his sister-in-law's curses. This kind of thing happened almost once a day. No, almost 3 times a day. When it was time to eat, she would find all kinds of reasons to bury him. It was good that he could not eat. Although it was not a matter of a day or two, every time Li Hui heard his sister-in-law's curses, his heart would be filled with anger. It made him unable to read his book. It was really hard to imagine how a woman could be so vicious. She did not have a bit of a woman's character. Women should be gentle, considerate, and talented. Shouldn't they be able to add fragrance to his sleeves? Beautiful like a fairy, overflowing with talent, noble and unparalleled. This is what a woman should be like. Ning Shu watched as Li Hui's eldest sister-in-law cleaned the chicken coop while cursing indignantly. Then, she used a knife to chop the pigweed. Her mouth didn't stop, and her hands didn't stop either. She worked very quickly. Ning Shu stood outside the courtyard and knocked on the door. The eldest sister-in-law wiped her hands on her apron and muttered, "Who is it?" "Amitba." Ning Shu held the bowl in one hand and bowed with the other. Benefactor. In this era, ghosts and gods were still revered. Seeing Ning Shu, the sister-in-law immediately shouted, "Master." Ning Shu said, "I came here to beg for alms and heard some noise." The eldest sister-in-law's tan skin was a little red. She was scolding her younger brother-in-law just now. "Master, I don't have anything good at home. I only have a few sweet potatoes. Madam, give them to you." The eldest sister-in-law took the bowl in Ning Shu's hand and went into the house to put in a few boiled sweet potatoes. Ning Shu chanted Amitba and read a passage of scriptures to the eldest sister-in-law. Then he said, "If the family is peaceful, everything will prosper. Quarreling will harm people's luck and increase their hostility. It will also cause the person being scolded to have a venomous heart. Benefactors should not speak too fast to avoid planting a seed of disaster." Although it felt good to scold, what was the use? If it was Ning Shu, he would directly praise this guy to death. He would provide good food and drink, and no one would be able to get a handle on him. Even if it wasn't good in private, no one would believe you even if you said it out loud. Even if the younger brother-in-law really became rich in the future, there would be no reason for him to mention that his brother had divorced his wife. In this era, reputation was important. If one wanted to be an official, they had to have a good reputation. Of course, they also had to have good looks. If they were ugly, they wouldn't even be able to be an official. Since ancient times, everyone was obsessed with looks. The eldest sister-in-law was a little helpless. She didn't want to quarrel, but this younger brother-in-law was really a cold-hearted person. Other than eating, he usually stayed at home or went out for an entire day and didn't come back. He didn't care about the family. The eldest sister-in-law was like a mother. She also wanted to be like a mother. But this younger brother-in-law really made her feel bad. Moreover, he looked down on her. Li Hui heard the door suddenly become quiet. He vaguely heard people talking at the door. When he opened the door, he saw his eldest sister-in-law talking to a monk. Li Hui had a good impression of monks. Previously, living Buddha Changsho of the Wuyo Temple had predicted that he would be rich in the future. Now, a monk had appeared. If this monk could say that he would be rich in the future in front of his sister-in-law wouldn't keep quarreling. "Greetings, master." Li Hui walked over. Ning Shu cupped his hands. This was the first time he was observing Li Hui at such a close distance. His facial features were regular and he had a gentlemanly temperament. With one look, he felt that this might be a golden phoenix that flew out of a farmer's house. Yes, a golden phoenix guy. Moreover, Li Hui had a lot of luck. When Ning Shu was sizing up Li Hui, Ning Shu felt that the dark clouds above her head seemed to be brewing lightning. If she were to attack Li Hui, she was afraid that a bolt of lightning would strike her head. This kind of person was the legendary benefactor. Wherever he went, he would feel like he was being protected by the gods. Ning Shu said, "Benefactor is good." Ning Shu saw Li Hui's dignified appearance, as if he was waiting for praise. He couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. Was it possible that anyone who had some cultivation and knew a little about physiognomy would be praised as a dragon or a phoenix among men? Ning Shu said to his sister-in-law, "This young master will definitely be outstanding in the future. In the future, this young master will take good care of you and repay you." His sister-in-law looked doubtful. Li Hui almost vomited blood. It was certain that he would be outstanding, but to repay his sister-in-law? Li Hui's heart was very uncomfortable. His sister-in-law treated him like this, and he still wanted to repay her? Li Hui was someone who could even abandon someone who had done him a favor, not to mention someone who had been insulting him. Ning Shu saw that Li Hui's expression was not good and chuckled. Li Hui was angry, but he couldn't blame a monk. Moreover, the other party had said that he would be outstanding, but why did he feel so sick of it? Ning Shu said Amitabha, and then said to his sister-in-law, "Benefactor, you must cultivate your moral character. You must not talk too much." "Thank you, great master." The sister-in-law hurriedly clasped her hands together. Ning Shu said Amitabha and turned to leave. She silently looked up at the dark clouds above her head and rolled her eyes. Only the dark clouds would not leave her. After Ning Shu left, the atmosphere between the sister-in-law and the sister-in-law became very strange. Li Hui went back into the house. The sister-in-law endured it and didn't say anything. But when she was working, she used a lot of strength, wanting to vent the discomfort in her heart. Li Hui saw that his sister-in-law didn't scold him anymore, and felt that the monk's words were useful. He suppressed the displeasure in his heart. Li Hui thought about the approaching autumn examination and was very worried. If he missed it, he would have to wait a few years for the next one. He had already passed the previous examinations. Chapter 2072. Li Hui couldn't figure it out. He had reduced the taxes for his family, but his sister-in-law still scolded him every day. Did he not do anything for his family? He hated this kind of woman. In the future, his wife would definitely not be this kind of woman. Li Hui sighed. Where could he get the money to go to the capital? Did he really have to compromise with the landlord in the village and marry his extremely fat daughter? It was too insulting. Ning Shu ate the boiled sweet potato. It tasted pretty good and was very sweet. Ning Shu recited a prayer for Li Hui's sister-in-law. Then, he turned into a beautiful woman and touched his face. However, it was not Tao Yao's face, but another face. Ning Shu sat on a tree branch and looked in the direction of Li Hui's house. As long as she was here, Li Hui would definitely appear. This was an opportunity. After the old monk left, Li Hui was worried about the money in the capital again. He took out his bright clothes and put them on. He took out a folding fan and prepared to go out. When the sister-in-law saw Li Hui like this, she knew that he was going out. Her heart was filled with anger. She felt like she was her brother-in-law's servant. She had never said a good word to him. However, the sister-in-law silently endured it. Although she didn't know if she could succeed, the master said that quarreling would hurt her luck. Li Hui looked at the town and passed by the tree where Ning Shu was. When Li Hui passed by, she gently jumped down and passed by Li Hui as if nothing had happened. At first, Li Hui didn't notice it. Then, he couldn't move his eyes away. He quickly walked to Ning Shu's side and said, "I am Li Hui. May I know where you are going? You don't seem to be a local?" Ning Shu turned around. Her face was like a peach blossom. Her facial features were different from Tao Yao's, but she was still very beautiful. Li Hui took a look and quickly lowered his head. His ears were red. Ning Shu smiled and said, "I live in the mountains. My father is a hunter. This is my first time out. I guess I got lost." A hunter's daughter. Li Hui looked up and down at Ning Shu. She had a good figure, a good face, and an outstanding temperament. Moreover, the clothes she was wearing didn't look like those of a hunter's family. Li Hui said, "If that's the case, why don't you let me send you home? Do you know where my home is?" Ning Shu asked. Li Hui looked at the woman in front of him. Her eyes were as bright as stars. Her small lips were like cherry blossoms, and there was a fragrance coming from her body. He felt that she was nothing more than a fairy descending to the mortal world. "I grew up here and am familiar with many places. Mrs. Fodder must be anxious." Ning Shu shook his head. "My father was actually killed by dumb insect a long time ago." Li Hui asked again, "Then do you live alone?" Ning Shu nodded. Li Hui insisted on sending Ning Shu home. With a wave of his hand, Ning Shu built a thatched hut deep in the mountains. Ning Shu took Li Hui around. It was a mountain road, so it was not easy to walk. Li Hui's feet were covered in blisters. It was clearly spring, but his whole body was sweaty and sticky. It was very uncomfortable. However, the beauty was not panting at all. She looked very relaxed. Li Hui could only endure it. He could not leave the image of a weak scholar in front of the beauty. I found it, I found it. Ning Shu pointed at the thatched hut. The thatched hut was surrounded by a fence. The fence was surrounded by morning glory flowers, and it was decorated with small purple morning glory flowers. There were some vegetables planted in the vegetable field at the entrance. There was a stream in front of the hut. The thatched hut looked like a fairy. Li Hui opened his fan and fanned himself. He said, I didn't expect this place to be like a fairyland. If I didn't know, I would have thought that Miss is a fairy. Li Hui looked at the beautiful Ning Shu. His eyes were shining. Ning Shu smiled and said, in the past, my father and I depended on each other. But after my father passed away, I lived alone. My father said that the people outside are very bad. He didn't let me go out. It was my first time going out and I got lost. Li Hui cupped his fist and said, since Miss has safely arrived home, then I will leave first. Ning Shu bowed. Thank you for sending me back. Take care. Li Hui was speechless. He had come so far. Was she not going to invite him in for a cup of tea? Fortunately, he remembered this place. Although it was a thatched hut, the woman's clothes were not something an ordinary person could wear. She had a pure personality. Then I will leave first. Li Hui took a few steps and turned back. He saw the girl return to her thatched hut without looking back. She didn't even look back. Li Hui could only comfort himself by saying that the girl was aloof from worldly affairs and didn't know the ways of the world. Then he turned and left. He didn't go to town and returned to his house. At night, he tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. His mind was filled with the beauty's voice and smile. She was an otherworldly woman, pure and beautiful. The next morning, Li Hui thought for a moment and took some fruits from home. He also picked a bouquet of flowers and walked to the thatched hut deep in the mountains. Ning Shu was drying the herbs and turned a blind eye to Li Hui's appearance until Li Hui called out, Mississippi. Ning Shu turned her head and asked Li Hui, you are? Li Hui said, I am the person who sent you home yesterday. Ning Shu suddenly realized, so it's you. Young master, do you need something? Li Hui took out the fruits and handed a bouquet of flowers to Ning Shu through the fence. Ning Shu didn't take it and asked, what kind of flowers are these? I have seen many of them in the mountains, but I don't know the name of these flowers. Li Hui, this girl was really otherworldly. Was she not happy to be given flowers? Ning Shu expressed that he had been given flowers in the previous world, but at least they had good intentions. However, Li Hui's actions were full of calculation. Although these flowers don't have a name, they are very beautiful. Miss, why don't you give them a name? Li Hui immediately said. Ning Shu said, oh, in that case, young master, give it a name. Then it will be called Yen Ruyu. Li Hui stared straight at Ning Shu's face as he said this. Then he realized that he was being rude and immediately lowered his head. I was too impulsive. Miss, you can be called Yen Ru. Ning Shu said, my father always said that I was born beautiful. There are always some lechers who are impulsive. Li Hui, but young master seems very kind. You are not the lecher that my father said. You even gave me something. Thank you, young master. Li Hui secretly let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she was an innocent girl. Li Hui liked innocent girls. This kind of otherworldly fairy-like girl was what he liked. Li Hui wiped the sweat from his forehead. Ning Shu said, young master, come in and have a seat. Have a cup of water. Li Hui immediately cupped his hands, sorry to disturb you. When he walked in and saw the furnishings, he was shocked. Although it was a thatched hut outside, the tables and chairs inside were exquisitely carved. There were delicate porcelain vases with bouquets of flowers. It was incomparably elegant. Chapter 2073. The outside was a thatched hut, but the inside was a completely different world. It was not bad to say that they were from a wealthy family. The furniture was probably made of expensive wood, and the workmanship was also very good. Through a thin bead curtain, one could see that there was a bed in the room next door. The light yellow mosquito net was embroidered with delicate patterns. One look and one could tell that it was a woman's room. There was a faint fragrance in the room. It should be from burning incense. Wealthy families were particular about people. Ning Shu poured a cup of water for Li Hui and said, "My family is poor, so there is nothing to entertain you with. Just a cup of tea." Li Hui sat on the chair and smelled the fragrance on the chair. Could it be the expensive yellow pear wood? Furniture made of yellow pear wood? Poor family? Li Hui picked up the white porcelain teacup. The teacup was very simple and elegant. There were only a few strokes on it, but the artistic conception was distant. It seemed to be the work of a master. There was a touch of light green floating in the teacup, and a few wisps of smoke were emitting warmth. Li Hui took a deep breath and tasted the tea in his most stylish manner. Just a cup of tea? This was probably the best tea he had ever tasted. The tip of his tongue was slightly sweet, and the fragrance of the tea slowly seeped from his nose to his throat. His limbs and bones were indescribably relaxed and comfortable, and his mouth was filled with the smell of orchids. Li Hui's expression was calm, but his heart was not calm at all. This naive little girl was actually living in a wealthy family, but she did not know it herself. And when she said it was a cup of tea, it was a cup of tea. There was no expression on her face at all. Li Hui only felt that this place was full of celestial aura, as if it was the residence of an immortal. It made him feel comfortable all over. It was much better than his own home. There were only 4 bare walls, and he could smell the stench of the chicken coop and pig pen in the room. Everything here was very elegant, and it was deep in the mountains. There was no one to disturb him, no need to listen to the sarcastic sister-in-law at home, and there was a beauty to accompany him. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Li Hui's mind. His eyes were glued to Ning Shu's face. He only felt that this scene was so charming. Was he dreaming? Was he seeing a fairy in a dream? Ning Shu, go look at your cock. Thank you for coming to see me. You can take these things back. I have fruits like this at home, and there are many in the forest. Ning Shu said directly. Li Hui, she was innocent, but she didn't understand human feelings. Li Hui opened his fan handsomely and said, "Although you have this kind of thing, I won't take back what I've given away. If you don't want it, you can throw it away." "Oh," Ning Shu said, and then really threw the fruit out. Li Hui was cursing in his heart. What was going on? He said he would throw it away, and he really threw it away. Ning Shu saw Li Hui's expression and asked, "Can I throw it away?" "You can throw it away. It's yours. You can do whatever you want with it." Li Hui felt that it was not an easy thing to make an otherworldly woman become affectionate, gentle, and considerate for love. However, this kind of girl was much better than those spoiled young ladies. Moreover, she was pure and innocent. There were advantages to not knowing anything about human affairs. If there was something wrong, she could just show it so that he wouldn't have to spend time guessing. Moreover, the autumn examination was about to begin. He had to prepare for it. Any of the items here would be enough for him to go to the capital for the examination. After mentally preparing himself, Li Hui no longer cared about this girl's displeasure at throwing away the things he had given her. Ning Shu didn't say anything. She propped up her chin and looked at the calculation in Li Hui's eyes. Li Hui probably thought of everything in this house as his now. Li Hui saw that the girl was staring at him. Her pure eyes seemed to be able to see through his secret thoughts. He couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed and angry. "Miss, is it safe to live alone in this deep mountain?" Li Hui tried to find a topic to talk about. Ning Shu directly said, "It's very safe. My father taught me hunting skills. Normal wild beasts can't do anything to me. Last time, I even killed a wild boar. That beast was so big and had long fangs. However, I still killed it. But the meat was too smelly, so I threw it away." Li Hui was first surprised that a weak little girl could kill a wild boar. However, when he heard that the wild boar was thrown away just like that, he felt a little heartache. A wild boar was about 50 kilograms, close to 200 kilograms. It was all meat and she threw it away just like that. Li Hui didn't get to eat anything with oil at home. Throwing away a wild boar like that still made Li Hui, who ate coarse grain every day, feel a burst of pain in his heart. She really was a prodigal. However, if she didn't squander, she wouldn't be so pure. Squandering definitely meant that the gaps between one's fingers were wide. More or less, some would leak out. It was enough for her to use. He didn't know which hunter was so rich that he could buy so many things for his daughter. Or did the rich hide in the deep mountains and forests? Li Hui drank his tea and saw that there were pastries on the table. These pastries were exquisitely made. Even the pastries of the rich families in town couldn't be compared to them. He asked in surprise, "You made these pastries?" "Yes, I made them," Ning Shu admitted. She didn't let Li Hui taste the pastries. It was a perfect example of what it meant to be ignorant of the ways of the world. Li Hui suddenly felt stifled in his heart. With his status, he couldn't just eat things without the permission of the owner. "I don't know how the food you made tastes. I really want to try it." Li Hui looked at Ning Shu with an aggressive gaze. Looking at a woman with such a gaze, the woman would usually feel embarrassed. Her heart would beat wildly, and she would be extremely shy. Ning Shu had a look of surprise. "Do you really want to eat them? These pastries have been on the table for a few days. They're probably spoiled. If you want to eat them, I'll give them to you." Li Hui. He was so honest that it was a little unbearable. Li Hui changed the topic and asked, "Are you literate?" "I'm literate. When I have nothing to do, I have to study Buddha's scriptures and pray for my father," Ning Shu said. She didn't have to worry about food or clothing. She was literate. She even copied Buddha's scriptures when she had nothing to do. Her life was really comfortable. It made Li Hui a little jealous. He didn't have a good background. In order to climb up, he had to sacrifice a lot, dignity and conscience. Some people didn't have to do anything and they could have a good life. Li Hui took a deep breath and suppressed the resentment in his heart. He said, "Then I'll be leaving." Ning Shu nodded and stood up to send Li Hui off. Li Hui, didn't she have any reluctance? Didn't she try to persuade him to stay? Li Hui was a little sad and angry. Why didn't she follow the routine? Shouldn't she be reluctant to leave and try to persuade him to stay? She should at least let him stay for a meal. But this woman didn't say anything. She only drank a cup of tea from beginning to end. Moreover, she didn't even refill it. It was so awkward. Chapter 2074. Li Hui saw that he had already left the courtyard, but the girl didn't say anything to urge him to stay. This made Li Hui a little unwilling. If it was a beautiful girl with such wealth and no parents, she would be his ideal wife. She would be able to support him like the landlord in the village, and she was also beautiful. She was much better than the landlord's daughter. Li Hui was a beauty lover. Every day he would read poems about beauties. In his mind, all he could imagine was a fairy-like lady. This lady completely matched his taste. Li Hui hardened his heart and twisted his ankle. However, he used too much strength and fell to the ground. Ning Shu looked at the dark clouds above his head. It seemed to be brewing lightning. He rolled his eyes. She was not the one who made Li Hui twist his ankle. He was the one who did it to himself. Li Hui was able to succeed because he was ruthless to others. When he had no choice, he would use himself and be ruthless to himself. Actually, it was normal for such a person to succeed. However, when they obstructed him, even if they had a close relationship with him, even if they had done him a favor, he would still kill them without mercy. Even if his own parents obstructed him, he would kill them. If he was too ruthless, he could not blame others for counterattacking. Ning Shu's mission was to work hard to complete the mission. He was entrusted with it, so he had to do it. The purpose of coming to this world was to complete the mission. After Li Hui twisted his ankle, it was a heart-wrenching pain. His ankle immediately became red and swollen. He had never suffered such pain since he was young. Ning Shu walked over and asked, "Young master, what happened to you?" Li Hui's expression was pained. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He took a deep breath and said, "I twisted my ankle." Ning Shu looked at Li Hui's ankle. It was indeed red and swollen. His ankle was as big as his arm. "It's quite serious." Ning Shu tilted his head and said, "How about this? I'll treat it for you." "Thank you, lady." Li Hui sighed. He had finally achieved his goal. However, Li Hui's face turned green again. Because this woman had brought him to the woodshed and not to her boudoir. There was dried grass on the ground. She made him lie on it. Li Hui suddenly felt that the injuries he suffered were not worth it at all. He could only sleep in the woodshed on the withered grass. Ning Shu said, "I can only arrange for you to stay here because father said that no man can enter her boudoir." This dead hunter was still trying to make his presence known. Li Hui's heart felt like it was about to explode. Did this girl take her father's words as an imperial edict? She kept mentioning her father all the time. He didn't know when he would be able to replace the hunter's position in this girl's heart. "I'll just bear with it for now." This kind of naive girl only knows one thing. Ning Shu said to Li Hui, who was sweating from the pain, "I'm going to set your bones now. You have to bear with it. Bone setting can help you recover faster. It's just a little painful. Bear with it. You must bear with it." "Ah!" Li Hui was caught off guard and cried out in pain. Ning Shu looked at him with a surprised look. Li Hui was a little embarrassed. His glorious image. Ning Shu said, "I've set your bones, but you need to rest for a while. How can you go back like this?" Now Li Hui also understood this girl's routine. She said whatever she wanted to say. She didn't know what was tactful at all and couldn't take polite words seriously. So he said directly, "I want to rest here for a while. You can rest assured that I won't cross the line. I'll only rest in the woodshed." Ning Shu's mouth twitched. His face was full of unwillingness and rejection. He asked, "If you stay here, won't your family be worried? Won't they look for you?" He wanted to live in a single girl's house. What was his intention? If it was the client, he would believe Li Hui's nonsense. After all, Li Hui had a glorious and magnificent image in the client's heart. Li Hui ignored Ning Shu's rejection and said directly, "I used to live in my classmate's house. My family will only think that I'm in my classmate's house." It wasn't easy to find an opportunity. He wouldn't leave just like that. Ning Shu's mouth twitched. Li Hui didn't have a classmate who could spend the night with him. Even if he didn't go back, he didn't care whether his family would look for him or not. He was worried that something would happen to him. "Well, you can live in the woodshed. You can't enter my room. My father said that strange men are not allowed to enter my boudoir," Ning Shu said. Li Hui hated the word father. Every time he opened his mouth, he would say it. Ning Shu closed the door of the woodshed and looked up at the dark clouds. He really wanted to give them the middle finger, but he held back. What if they struck him? It wasn't worth it to be struck by lightning. In the evening, Ning Shu prepared porridge and vegetables for Li Hui. It was a very bland food. "I usually eat these things. I don't know if you're used to it." "Who cares if you're used to it?" Li Hui thought there would be some more sumptuous meal, but it turned out to be porridge and vegetables. Li Hui's mouth twitched. He said directly, "I'm used to it." Ning Shu turned and left. It was still spring, and it was very cold at night. Li Hui hugged his body tightly and curled into a ball. Why didn't that girl bring a blanket for him? She really didn't know how to handle people. Li Hui pulled the withered grass on his body. Only through hardship could one rise above others. He had to bear with it first. Bear with it. But it was so cold. Li Hui's ankle hurt and his body was cold. It was really unbearable. Li Hui regretted using self-harm to stay. This beauty looked beautiful, but she didn't know how to care about others. However, Li Hui's heart burned with a strong desire to fight. The more difficult it was, the better. His client, Tao Yao, was always considerate of Li Hui and treated him like an ancestor. He was considerate in every aspect, cooking and washing. Usually, he would accompany Li Hui to enjoy the flowers, snow and moon. They would sit in the courtyard and talk about the stars and the moon, from poetry to life ideals. Li Hui's favorite thing was to point out the world. Whenever he told Tao Yao, he would describe a magnificent future and the achievements he wanted to achieve. Every time, Tao Yao would look like a little fangirl, describing in detail how Li Hui would become such a person. Now, Ning Shu didn't even care about him. However, Li Hui didn't dare to be rash. He had to consider Ning Shu's feelings. In the past, he slept in a boudoir with a high bed and soft pillows. But now, he could only curl up in a pile of weeds. If Li Hui didn't covet anything from Ning Shu, he wouldn't have to compromise like this. People with principles lived hard lives. But people who were difficult to talk to wouldn't dare to bully them. They would take care of their feelings. If it was an unprincipled compromise, who would care about your thoughts and feelings? Chapter 2075. She was a good person. She didn't care about anything. She was just waiting for others to bully her. If she didn't bully her, she would feel bad. If your efforts were worthless in the eyes of others, this was not kindness, this was self-deprecation. Ning Shu sat in the house and cultivated. His hand turned into a vine. This secret manual was quite good. The vine's binding ability was very strong. If one vine was not enough, he would use 2. If 2 were not enough, he would use 10. At most, he would use more spiritual energy. Ning Shu cultivated while using his spiritual energy to check on Li Hui in the woodshed. Li Hui's body was curled up into a ball, hugging his arms. His body was trembling. He was cold. In addition, the windows of the woodshed were broken. There was nothing to block the wind. The night's cold air entered the woodshed, causing Li Hui to shiver. Ning Shu curled his lips. She didn't hurt Li Hui. On the contrary, she saved him and even took him in. As for Li Hui's cold, sorry, I'm a monster. I can't feel the cold, so I should think that humans can't feel the cold either. Lightning can't strike him. Ning Shu secretly raised his middle finger. If you have the ability, go and strike those bad people. There are many bad people in the world. Why is there only one monster? She looks so gentle and kind. How can she do bad things? The next day, Ning Shu went to see Li Hui with a glowing face. He saw that Li Hui's face was tired. He was so tired that even his eyes were a little dark. Young master, what's wrong with you? Does your ankle still hurt? Ning Shu asked. It hurts. Li Hui didn't dare to sleep for the whole night. If he fell asleep, what if he caught a cold? A cold was a serious illness. If he wasn't careful, it could take his life. Li Hui regretted that he refused to ask for a bed and quilt. In the end, he was frozen for the whole night. According to the normal routine, this girl should have realized that he was rude and felt guilty. He should have comforted her. Ning Shu looked at Li Hui's ankle and said, I'll help you rub it. Ning Shu rubbed Li Hui's ankle with great kindness. His ankle was blue and purple. Li Hui felt a pair of soft hands pressing on his ankle. It was warm and soft. Li Hui's mind swayed. He felt that the injury was worth it. Hiss. Before Li Hui could finish sighing in his heart, an intense pain directly made Li Hui suck in a breath. Ning Shu asked, Does it hurt? You need to massage it more to disperse the blood clots. It will heal faster. Li Hui hurriedly shook his head. It doesn't hurt. Hiss. Ning Shu held a kind heart and used a little more force. This way, he could rub away the blood clots. Li Hui was in so much pain that his face was covered in sweat. She still regretted hurting her foot. He could have used other methods. He should have let the girl hurt her foot so that he could stay and take care of her. He had been thwarted time and time again. Also, this lady was really otherworldly. Why didn't she feel embarrassed when facing a man like him? Did he really not understand the feelings between a man and a woman? Li Hui really wanted to stuff a handful of dried grass into his mouth. Otherwise, he would bite his tongue and commit suicide. It was too fucking painful. Ning Shu rubbed his foot for a while, then took out some herbs and applied them to his foot. He said, Don't move around during this period of time. Li Hui directly said, Miss, can you give me a blanket? It's really cold at night. At this time, the lady should have realized that she had been rude and should have helped him into the house. Ning Shu blinked his eyes, but there are no extra blankets at home. After my father died, I burned everything to my father. Is it okay if there are extra blankets at home? My father said that no men are allowed to touch my things. Ning Shu silently said in his heart that he could not let this young master know that he was a peach blossom demon. Sometimes, Ning Shu's mental activities were deceiving people, deceiving the dark clouds in the sky to give a suitable explanation for his actions. In short, she did not harm Li Hui right now. She suppressed the malice in her heart and did not let anyone notice it. He only knew that she was Li Hui's benefactor, but she was a proud woman. If Li Hui wanted to get her heart and make her willingly take out something, it was understandable that he would suffer a little. Ning Shu's actions were just testing the bottom line. Was it fine as long as he did not harm Li Hui's life? He did not know if the other mountain spirits were staring at the dark clouds, but Ning Shu was quite unhappy. He had to show that he was willing to be monitored, and at the same time, he was in fear and trepidation. Without a quilt, it would not be warm at all. However, it was not bad to have a quilt. He hated the hunter's father. Ning Shu took out a set of well-made quilt covers that were incomparably smooth to the touch. The embroidery on them was vivid and lifelike. Li Hui felt that just this quilt cover alone could be worth a lot of money. And so many things were burned. What a pity. What a pity. He really did not know how expensive the daily necessities were. This kind of woman who had never suffered and was otherworldly was really something. Li Hui did not know what to say. Even if it was not his own things, just hearing it made his heart ache. She really did not care about money. He was worried to death just for a little money. In the future, he could not let this woman squander money like this. Giving me such a good quilt cover, isn't it a bit wasteful? Li Hui asked hesitantly. Ning Shu's face was full of surprise and confusion. It's just a quilt cover. Why is it wasteful? Damn, even the landlords in the village did not have the courage to say such a thing. This woman probably did not know how expensive the quilt cover was, so she did not care. She did not care about money, and he needed money. It was a match made in heaven. Gongzi, when can you go back? My father said that all men are bad. They only care about money and sex. My father doesn't allow me to interact with strange men. Ning Shu really wanted to chase Li Hui away. Her expression was full of disgust, and she didn't hide it at all. Li Hui, money and sex. Li Hui took a deep breath. Fortunately, his hunter father had died long ago. Li Hui hurriedly explained, "Miss, I am a person who has studied sage books. How can I do such a thing that goes against the way of a gentleman? I have never thought of taking advantage of you. Please don't think of me that way." Ning Shu's face was full of disbelief. Father said that men will do anything for beauty. Li Hui, what did that hunter father instill in this beauty? Why are all men bad people? There may be despicable people in this world, but I am definitely not one. I can point to the heavens and swear on this. Li Hui said. Ning Shu silently raised his head to look at the dark clouds. He wanted to test if Li Hui would really be struck by lightning if he swore. Ning Shu clasped his hands behind his back and smiled like a flower. Okay then, swear. Li Hui always felt that he was being tricked. He felt that something was not right. He wanted to swear, but shouldn't the other party stop him? Chapter 2076. According to a normal woman's reaction, she would cover her mouth shyly, snuggle in his arms, and gently say that she believed him. Li Hui's face was a little green. After all, people in this era still believed that there was a god above them. Li Hui was afraid. If he really had to swear, Li Hui's heart was still a little weak. Ning Shu was smiling like a flower at first, but then her face became serious. She said with slight disdain, "My father was right. Men say one thing, but they do another thing. They are all the same." Li Hui, damn, this hunter instilled such thoughts in his daughter in order to protect her. It was simply disgraceful. How could a man make an oath? Ning Shu slammed the door and left. She muttered, "Sure enough, my father was right. He was right." Li Hui knew that his hesitation had caused his image in front of the beauty to collapse. However, Li Hui really didn't dare to swear. What if retribution fell on him? Li Hui didn't expect this beauty to be so difficult to deal with. It was mainly because she was brainwashed by his father. It was difficult. It wasn't easy to find the best candidate in his mind. In the end, it was such a difficult young lady. She said that she was the daughter of a hunter, but she was like a rich young lady. His trick of injuring himself to gain her confidence didn't work. Now he was forced to swear. This feeling was really bad. He didn't gain anything and suffered for nothing. Li Hui was still lamenting his fate when the door creaked open. It was the rich young lady who brought him food. Li Hui was a little surprised. This time, there was actually soy sauce duck and a few side dishes. Ning Shu raised her chin and said, "I don't like to eat meat. My father likes to eat meat. I guess all men like to eat meat." Li Hui only had a bowl of porridge last night and was already hungry. Now that he saw such a sumptuous breakfast, his mouth was constantly secreting saliva. No matter how elegant he wanted to be, he was still an ordinary man. He still had to eat, drink, and go to the toilet. Before, she slammed the door and left. Not long after, she sent him such a sumptuous breakfast. She really didn't mean what she said. Li Hui understood that this rich young lady wanted him to make a promise to her. Women valued promises. Li Hui suddenly turned serious and said to Ning Shu, "It wasn't that I didn't want to make the vow, but I was thinking about our future." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "What future can we have? Don't talk nonsense. Father said that a woman's reputation is very important." Look at how angry he was. Strangely, Li Hui felt that it was a little interesting. The woman in his heart should be gentle and beautiful, but he didn't expect such a woman to appear. It was a little novel. Since she was good-looking and rich, he would be more lenient. Li Hui said, I actually fell in love with you at first sight." "Love at first sight, admiration at second sight?" Ning Shu asked. "That's true," Li Hui said happily. He finally understood what he was thinking. Sure enough, love at first sight was all about appearance. If she was an old woman, let's see if Li Hui would fall in love with her at first sight. "So," Ning Shu asked, "I want to spend the rest of my life with you, for better or for worse." Li Hui said affectionately, "Although my family is a little poor, I will definitely give you happiness in high school." These words were familiar. "Although I can't give you anything, I will treat you well." Don't you feel that these words are contradictory? If you don't have anything, how can you treat someone well? Even if you want to lie, you have to be more careful. Ning Shu curled her lips. "I don't want to believe you. Father said that men are all honeyed mouths and daggers in their hearts. They only know how to sweet-talk women. They're all tricks to deceive women. Once they've deceived a woman of everything and then abandoned her, the woman can only end her own life." Li Hui heard his father's words and his heart was numb. What did this hunter father experience and what did he say to his daughter? If he wanted to conquer this woman, he would have to completely drive her father out of her mind. Ning Shu turned around and left. He didn't expect Li Hui to be so afraid to make the vow. He originally had bad intentions, so of course he wouldn't dare to make the vow. Ning Shu wanted to know, if a human made the vow, how would the dark cloud above her react? After that, Ning Shu sent delicious food for 3 meals a day. Each meal was more luxurious than the last. Chicken, duck, fish, and even bird's nest. Li Hui had never seen these things before. These were all food eaten by rich families. He didn't expect that he would be able to eat these things after getting injured. Thus, Li Hui began to indirectly ask Ning Shu where these things came from and why he didn't prepare such delicious food for him. Ning Shu said indifferently, "There are plenty of them at home." When Li Hui heard this, he felt as if a gold ingot had been smashed on his head. He almost fainted from joy. He then asked why there were so many things at home and how many there were. Ning Shu replied, "These are all left to me by father. There are several boxes." She then proudly said, "They take up so much space." Li Hui. At this moment, Li Hui felt that he should still thank the hunter father for leaving so many good things for his daughter without knowing it. He reckoned that the hunter wasn't a simple person. How could an ordinary hunter save up so much wealth? The hunters in their village only hunted rabbits and pheasants. How could they save up so many boxes of wealth? Fortunately, the hunter father had died long ago. Li Hui suppressed the excitement in his heart and said in a sad tone, "I was rude. I'm not worthy of you." Ning Shu nodded seriously. "Father also said that there are very few men in this world who are worthy of me. He told me not to be easily cheated by men. Father said that if a man cheated me, I should learn from Du Shenyang and sink the treasure chest. But I shouldn't commit suicide. Li Hui wanted to drag the hunter father out and whip his corpse. He thought that she was an otherworldly woman without parents. Who knew that her father had such a great influence on her? Now, Li Hui's mind was filled with the words, father said, father said, father also said. It was like a curse that was churning in his mind. This was a test. How could he gain this woman's trust and remove the suspicion and vigilance in her heart? Li Hui took a deep breath, raised his hand, and raised his finger. He solemnly swore, I'm Li Hui. Miss, what's your name? Ning Shu said, Wenhua. She had many aliases. I have treated Lady Wenhua with all my heart. I will definitely not let her down in this life. If I violate this oath, I will be punished by the heavens and earth. I will not have a good death. As Li Hui spoke, his lips were trembling. After swearing the oath, his entire body collapsed. Ning Shu looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. There seemed to be lightning flashing. She didn't know if the lightning was going to strike her or Li Hui. However, Ning Shu saw that some of the purple luck on Li Hui's body was taken away. Chapter 2077. Falling in Love with You. Transmigrating canon fodder female supporting character Counterattack. A person's luck was divided into several types. Ordinary people and mediocre people would see white luck above their heads through the luck-gazing technique. White luck was the most common and also the most common. Society was made up of ordinary people. If there was red in white, then they would live a better life than ordinary people through hard work. If it was red, then they would not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of their lives. They would be born into a rich family. If there was purple in red, then they would be a noble person and an extremely high official. As for purple luck, purple chi from the east, that was the luck of an emperor. Luck was a rather mysterious thing. There were not many people who truly had unspeakable luck. Li Hui was originally born in a poor family and lived a life of poverty. He had a white fate, but this white fate was mixed with a bit of purple fate. This purple fate would allow him to rise to the top in the future and become an extremely high official. Becoming an extremely high official was already the highest achievement. If he wanted to go further but did not have that kind of luck, he would definitely end up dead. Li Hui had a plan in his heart. He braced himself and swore that he would be loyal to Ning Shu for the rest of his life. Ning Shu looked at the dark clouds above his head and the little purple luck that was taken away. He felt a little better. Even if he was biased, he had taken away a little of Li Hui's luck. Even if he was biased towards Li Hui's actions did not conform to the core socialist values of prosperity, democracy, civilization, harmony, freedom, equality, justice, the rule of law, patriotism, professionalism, honesty, and friendliness. He had to be punished. He had the intention of lying. If Li Hui really treated the person who entrusted him wholeheartedly in the future, perhaps there would not be such retribution. But how was that possible? So if a man wanted to swear, hurry up and do it. Why use your hand to cover his mouth? The woman probably did not believe it subconsciously and was afraid that retribution would fall on the man. Maybe there was no reaction when he swore to the heavens. Who knew if retribution would come in the future? After all, he had done something against his conscience. Ning Shu smiled as he looked at the dark clouds brewing lightning. Suddenly he had a wicked thought. If lightning struck her and she hugged Li Hui, would the lightning strike her or not? I've already sworn. You should believe me, right? Li Hui said to Ning Shu. In his heart, he comforted himself that this was just a temporary measure. God, please don't be offended. It was nothing to be surprised about. It had only taken away a bit of luck. Ning Shu tilted his head and said, You swore, so I should believe you? Of course, the gods are watching. How could I joke about something like this? Li Hui was so angry that he almost jumped up. He had already sworn. Why was this woman still indifferent? Ning Shu's face was full of curiosity. Aren't you a scholar? Don't scholars talk about strange things? Heaven and earth, monarch and vassal, father leads the people. This is not some supernatural power, but my promise to you. Heaven and earth bear witness to it. Li Hui said with deep emotion. Is that so? Of course it is. Li Hui nodded like a chicken pecking rice. Ning Shu pursed his lips. My father said that swearing to the heavens is useless. If it really is useful, why is it that there are so many bad people in the world? Why aren't they struck to death by lightning? Why aren't those bad people punished? The ones who are tortured are always the ordinary kind people. Li Hui hugged his head and groaned. He weakly asked, Then what do you want? What do you want to believe in my feelings for you? Ning Shu shook his head. I don't know. I don't know what I want. Ning Shu spread his hands. When you recover, go home. Don't come here again. Even if you swear, I won't believe you. My father said that a man's sweet talk is either for money or for sex. In short, they all have a motive, especially those who swear. They even dare to lie to the heavens. They have no respect for the heavens and earth. My father said that such people are the scariest. My father also said that men who swear so casually are mostly men who hang around in pleasure houses. In front of brothels, they swear and swear. They treat swearing as sweet talk. Li Hui was speechless. Li Hui felt as if there was a beast in his heart. Fuck, he really wanted to dig up his father's ancestral grave and whip his corpse. He had to whip his corpse. He had to. It was too fucking despicable. Li Hui felt like he had run out of tricks. He was very helpless. No matter what he did, the other party would stop him. If he didn't swear, this woman wouldn't believe him and had no choice but to swear. In the end, she said that he was frivolous and was a casual person. What the fuck do you want me to do? I'll just send you to your death. This woman's father was crazy. He said such things to his daughter for no reason. Then why did his daughter find a man? Let her become a nun. He imagined that the woman would be gentle and understanding. She would have a fairy-like face and be like a flower that understood words. This woman's personality was really not ordinary. Although it was still spring and there was still some time before the autumn examination, the journey was long. After settling the money issue, they would arrive at the capital and rest for a while. The imperial examination would then begin. Money, it was all money. You're playing with me. Li Hui gnashed his teeth as he spoke. His expression was somewhat fierce. Ning Shu took a step back and looked at Li Hui with some horror. Li Hui realized that his reaction was a little too big. He immediately restrained his expression and said, Miss, don't you think that a lot of what your father said is nonsense? Do you want to live by your father's words for the rest of your life? I care about you. I'm willing to do anything for you. I'll even swear and bet my life. Men are not like what your father said. People are divided into good and bad. Women have bad people and men have bad people. But women have good people and men have good people. Li Hui wanted to take the opportunity to correct Ning Shu's thinking. This dead father was the biggest obstacle. He was already dead, but his existence was still so fucking strong. Ning Shu said, My father said that a man's love can be extricated, but a woman's love cannot be extricated. Men can extricate themselves more easily than women, but women can't extricate themselves. Men love their wives, but women value their ex-husbands. My father said that I can't entrust myself to a strange man. Moreover, it's a man I don't know about. Fuck, Li Hui wanted to curse out loud. He casually mentioned the Book of Songs. What ghost hunter? It must be a rich person hiding in the deep mountains. Otherwise, how could an ordinary family raise such a woman? Ordinary peasant women had to work every day, face the earth and back to the sky. Their hands were rough and their faces were dark. They wore dusty clothes and had rustic faces. This Wenhua grew up spoiled and did not eat the food of mortals. She had never suffered and did not know the difficulties of life. I'll endure. Chapter 2078. Falling in Love with You. Transmigrating canon fodder female supporting character Counterattack. Ning Shu didn't know why Li Hui had to use his feelings as a bargaining chip. Even if he needed money, he could borrow it and return it when he was successful in the future. Not only did he want money, but he also didn't want to return the money. So he used this method? Using feelings as a bargaining chip to make people willingly give it up. Moreover, he had to offer it up with both hands and beg this guy to accept it. He couldn't refuse. At noon, Ning Shu prepared a sumptuous lunch for Li Hui as usual. There were delicacies, desserts, and a cup of tea. Every single one of them tasted very good, and Li Hui had never eaten any of them before. Li Hui felt that he might gain weight if he got injured. Previously, they parted on bad terms, but this woman still brought him good food and drinks. Her heart was still soft. She still felt sorry for him. Even though she had a sharp tongue but a soft heart, she didn't curse him like her sister-in-law. Furthermore, as time passed, Li Hui discovered that none of the items on this woman's body were cheap. Even an ordinary jade hairpin that looked very ordinary, upon closer inspection, was more beautiful than if it had been carved with just a few strokes. Furthermore, the jade was translucent. The fabric on her body was also excellent. Even though it wasn't embroidered with flowers, it was very elegant. She looked like a fairy from the mountains. Not only were there fairies in the mountains, but there were also demons. However, this woman didn't look like a demon. It was said that demons ate humans. Living in the deep mountains and forests, where did all these food come from? Li Hui asked, "Did you buy all these things?" Ning Shu shook his head. "No, there's everything in the mountains. There are wild chickens and rare mushrooms. As for things like bird's nest, my father bought it in the past. I don't like to eat it." Li Hui. Every time he heard such words, it was a critical hit. He didn't like to eat bird's nest. He didn't like to eat delicacies. This feeling of being flaunted was really vexing. Very vexing. In the past, he ate coarse chaff and wild vegetables. He couldn't even eat anything for a month. This guy was so willful that he didn't like to eat bird's nest. Bird's nest was eaten by rich people, not to mention bird's nest. What the fuck? Li Hui suddenly had a feeling of wanting to send him to his death. "Did you hunt these in the mountains?" Li Hui asked. Ning Shu nodded. "Yes, my father said that a hunter needs to have kung fu, or else they will be killed by wild beasts. I have to wake up every morning to practice my kung fu, and this habit has remained. Even after my father died, I still wake up early to practice my kung fu." Boxing? Li Hui looked at the woman in front of him. Her graceful figure did not look like a fierce man at all, nor did she look like a woman who practiced martial arts. Was she really that powerful? Li Hui could only suppress the thought of using force in his heart. If she really was a woman who knew kung fu, it might be a little difficult for him to use force. Moreover, he was injured now. Fuck, that hunter's father wanted to make his daughter into a female general. Not only did he brainwash her, but he also wanted his daughter to practice martial arts. He wanted his daughter to become a nun. No man dared to be this woman's husband. There was simply no way to subdue her, no way. The hunter was really sick. He wanted his daughter to be alone for the rest of her life. Li Hui was filled with grief and indignation. How on earth could he make this woman become so soft? However, it seemed that this woman had never used kung fu in front of him. This meant that she was a person who did not like to use kung fu. Was her kung fu not very good? Li Hui's brain was about to explode. For this woman, he had really put in a lot of effort. In this life, he had been so worried about her studies. Ning Shu looked at Li Hui's face and curled his lips. If he wanted to use force, he might not be able to keep his chick. This era was very harsh on women. If they lost their chastity, they would have to submit. Women basically had no way out. Cutting off all the women's escape routes. Ning Shu coldly said, "You'd better not stay here. Hurry up and go back. Otherwise, your family will be worried." "Have you never worried that your family will be worried?" Li Hui touched his ankle and said, "In fact, I am not welcome at home. My sister-in-law despises me. My parents have also passed away. In a way, I am an orphan like you." Ning Shu curiously asked, "Why does your sister-in-law despise you?" "Because I spend all my time reading. Every time I read until midnight, my sister-in-law despises me for wasting lamp oil." Li Hui spoke of his days at home. His face was filled with sincere sadness and disgust. Li Hui wanted to get rid of this poor life at all times. Li Hui did not feel that he was lacking in any way. The only thing he lacked was that he was not born into a rich family. He could do whatever he wanted without any scruples. He would not be cursed for wasting lamp oil. Why do you have to read at night? Can't you read during the day? What do you do during the day? Ning Shu asked. Some people were just pretending to be diligent. Or they had procrastination. During the day, I have to help with the farm work. Li Hui said. Usually, he would attend some poetry gatherings. These gatherings were organized by scholars or held by the town's famous people. However, Li Hui would not say that he was going to attend a banquet at this time. Ning Shu grinned. My biggest goal is to stand out and achieve something in this world. However, because of my family, I can't jump out of this swamp. Li Hui looked at Ning Shu affectionately. Then, I have to find a beautiful wife to spend the rest of my life with. Ning Shu said directly, my father said that one cannot be too greedy. Otherwise, one will lose even more. Li Hui was speechless. The hunter who had lost his mind had also trained his daughter to lose her mind. Shouldn't women be demure, virtuous, kind, and gentle? Instilling such rebellious thoughts in his daughter every day was really obeying her father at home and obeying her husband after marriage. Why didn't this hunter teach his daughter the 3 obediences and 4 virtues? Li Hui only wanted to stand out. As long as he stood out, he would have everything. As long as he was in high school, he would be able to achieve something and have a beautiful and gentle wife. The landlord in the village was pot-bellied and fat, but each of his concubines was more beautiful than the last. Greedy. He was not greedy at all. He only wanted to be in high school and earn enough money to go to the capital. Currently, this woman was his hope and the most suitable. No parents, no family, no clan. It meant less trouble. I want to take you as my wife. It's true. I really want to take you as my wife. If it's not true, then it's like I swear, Li Hui said firmly. Ning Shu silently watched as a trace of the purple providence on Li Hui's body was sucked away. Don't swear so casually. Chapter 2079. Falling in love with you. Transmigrating canon fodder female supporting character Counterattack. Ning Shu said directly, you and I have only known each other for a few days, and you want to marry me. My father said not to easily get together with others. Once you're together, there's no turning back. Father, you're numb. Li Hui was annoyed to death by his father's words. What an ignorant woman. So annoying. Li Hui said helplessly, then what do I have to do to make you believe me? Ning Shu thought for a moment and said, how about this? Go and see my father. Tell him about it. Li Hui's face suddenly turned green and white. You said to see your father? Yes, to see my father, Ning Shu said. But your father has passed away, and you want me to see him? This was the rhythm of killing him. My father has passed away, and I want you to go to his grave. Ning Shu saw Li Hui's face turn green and couldn't help but grin. Li Hui let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he wasn't being sent to see his dead father. Well, when I'm better, I'll go visit Uncle. Wenhua, I'm sincere to you. I'll make it clear in front of Uncle's grave. Li Hui said confidently. Since she was willing to let him see his father-in-law, did it mean that she still had him in her heart? Li Hui, who was previously depressed, finally let out a sigh of relief. All the arrogance from before was to test him. Now he had passed the test. Li Hui's heart leaped with joy. Perhaps he could sleep on a soft bed with a warm blanket filled with fragrance. Li Hui coughed. He had been waiting for Ning Shu to ask him to go to the room. But when the sky turned dark and the weather turned cold, Li Hui put on the silky smooth blanket and waited for Ning Shu to ask him to go to the room. Li Hui, this woman, how could he let him into the room? In the end, it was all because of his father, the hunter, who said that strange men were not allowed to enter the room. In the end, this woman was also stupid and kept following the rules. Li Hui felt that he was really unlucky. He really didn't succeed in anything he wanted to do. Did he have to wait until he performed well in front of the hunter's father's grave to pass? Li Hui tightly wrapped himself in the quilt as he thought about what kind of words he could use to appear sincere and move a woman's heart. As for his father, Li Hui didn't care at all. He was just a dead man facing a grave. In the following days, Ning Shu took care of Li Hui. Whenever Li Hui caught Ning Shu, he would confess his feelings to her. Ning Shu's heart didn't waver at all. He changed the dressing on Li Hui's ankle and infused some spiritual energy into it. Lying here every day was a little annoying. Li Huidu stared at Ning Shu with a burning gaze, reciting a magnificent poem to praise Ning Shu's beauty. Ning Shu only grinned. In any case, Li Hui was racking his brains to please Ning Shu and win over Ning Shu's heart. When his ankle could walk, Li Hui also helped to do things. He went to the vegetable field to pull weeds and helped with everything. He was honest and well-behaved and didn't ask to sleep in the room. He even wanted a high bed and soft pillow. He even wanted to press Ning Shu under his body. Once he had a woman's body, he would have everything. But in the morning, when he saw Ning Shu actually practicing boxing, the wind from his punches whistling, he suddenly didn't dare to be rash. He was really compromising. But if it wasn't because of love, he had to use the name of love. Was it fun? Ning Shu prepared a set of high-quality light green men's clothes for Li Hui. There was a jade pendant on his waist and a transparent jade hairpin on his head to tie up his hair. Wash up well. Tomorrow I'll take you to see my father. Ning Shu put the things in the woodshed. Okay. Li Hui smiled at Ning Shu, appearing very affectionate. His eyes were shining brightly. But Ning Shu still didn't show any signs of shyness, making Li Hui feel very frustrated. Did she not understand the feelings between men and women, or did she not like him at all? Li Hui was very concerned about this matter. Although he didn't have a very pure purpose, but when the woman didn't love him, Li Hui still felt very uncomfortable. After Ning Shu left, Li Hui touched the clothes in the tray. It was smooth to the touch. At first glance, he could tell it was high-quality silk. The color was good and the embroidery was excellent. The most important thing was that the clothes weren't red and green like the nouveau riche. Instead, it was extremely elegant and light-colored. This woman's eyesight was very good. Her inner clothes were made of soft cotton, and her shoes looked soft at first glance. There was even jade. Even the young masters of the big families in town didn't have this standard. This town wasn't very rich. The people in the village were even poorer. Every day, they faced the yellow soil and back to the sky, just to have a bite to eat. They wore coarse hemp clothes. Now he was wearing hemp footwear. Now he was eating delicacies every day, wearing silk and satin and carrying jade. This was the life he had always wanted. This was exactly what he had been dreaming of all this time. The next day, Ning Shu took Li Hui to the graveyard. After dressing up, Li Hui looked very elegant, just like the young master of a rich family. Wearing the brocade clothes, Li Hui seemed to have gained a lot of confidence. When he faced Ning Shu, he smiled evilly. Ning Shu replied with an evil smile, "Have you thought about how to tell my father?" "I have already thought about it. He entrusted you to me in the underworld." Li Hui opened his folding fan and slowly fanned himself. He had a charming capital. Ning Shu didn't say anything. He carried the basket and brought Li Hui to a grave. He took out the incense, candles, and paper money. After lighting the paper, Li Hui directly knelt in front of the grave. He pointed to the sky and swore, "Uncle, if I betray Wenhua in this life, I will be abandoned by heaven and earth. I will die a horrible death." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and looked at the dark clouds in the sky. The dark clouds were brewing lightning. Another trace of purple luck was taken away from Li Hui's body. This was Li Hui taking the initiative to swear. He probably felt that after swearing once, the second time would be easier. Without another word, he knelt down and pointed to the sky to swear. Besides, swearing wasn't a big deal. Nothing happened. The period of recovery was the best period of Li Hui's life. If he were to return to the days when he didn't have enough to eat, Li Hui wouldn't be able to bear it. It was easy to go from simple to extravagant, but difficult to go from extravagant to simple. If he hadn't enjoyed it before, it would be fine. But since he had it before, he had to grab hold of it now. Li Hui wouldn't give up on the imperial examinations. Only when he was in high school would he be able to last. The premise was that he had to get the travel expenses to the capital and the expenses to make friends in the capital. This wasn't a small sum, but with Wenhua's wealth, he would definitely be able to afford it. Even if he didn't have cash or banknotes, he had a lot of good things. If he sold them, he would be able to get the travel expenses to the capital. The premise was that this girl was willing. Otherwise, he would really sink the treasure chest. Chapter 2080. Falling in Love with You. Transmigrating canon fodder female supporting character counterattack. After thinking this through, Li Hui knelt in front of the grave and swore. Those who achieved great things did not care about trifles. It was just an oath, a temporary predicament. He would definitely be able to jump out of this quagmire. To be honest, the feeling of being forced to swear was really annoying. It was because of his surroundings, because his parents had died early, because his brother and sister-in-law were not devoted to him, and because his family could not take out the money. He had to swear to win the heart of this woman in front of him. It was also because of this woman's stubbornness, and even more so because of the hunter's father who was sleeping in the grave in front of him. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu couldn't figure out why she had to repay him with her body if she had a good impression of him. Moreover, Li Hui didn't do anything. All he did was say a few words of righteousness. If Tao Yao had lent Li Hui money to go to the capital, perhaps Li Hui would have been a little grateful. But why was Li Hui so cruel and ruthless when Tao Yao had done so much for him? He didn't even give Tao Yao any face and didn't care about Tao Yao's kindness and sacrifice. It was not that Tao Yao was not good, but that Tao Yao was too good. Li Hui knew that he had found a new wife from an aristocratic family, climbing up the social ladder, and was the laughingstock of the world. Instead, he was ruthless enough to kill, just like a traitor who killed his own compatriots. That kind of hatred was even crueler than the enemy, just to destroy the existence that would become a stain on his reputation. After paying their respects, Ning Shu and Li Hui walked through the forest. Li Hui said to Ning Shu, "I may have to leave for a while. I have to go to the capital to take the exam." Ning Shu asked in surprise, "You're going to the capital?" "Yes, I hope to show off my talent and do something for the country and the people," Li Hui said with a serious face. Ning Shu tilted his head and said, "Are you going to be an official? Father said that officialdom is complicated and there are many fights. Not only do you have to face the emperor and guess the emperor's will, but there are also the messy factions and fights between officials. Can you handle it?" When Li Hui heard Ning Shu's words, he immediately became happy. Ning Shu was concerned about him. Li Hui said, "As long as I can work for the country and the people, I am not afraid of these things." Ning Shu pursed his lips. This was too hypocritical. Even the emperor used beautiful women and wealth to encourage students to study hard. A rich family does not need to buy fertile land, there are thousands of millets in the book. A peaceful house does not need to be built, there is a house of gold in the book. Do not regret going out without a chaperone. There are many carriages and horses in the book. Do not regret marrying a wife without a good matchmaker. There are beautiful women in the book. If a man follows his life's aspirations, he will diligently study the 6 classics in front of the window. At that time, studying and passing the imperial examinations was an excellent way out of life. Only after passing the imperial examinations could one obtain wealth and beautiful women. If he had to talk about serving the country and the people, how many people could have such integrity? At the very least, Li Hui did not have such integrity now. As for whether he would serve the country and the people in the future, it was not clear. A selfish and cold person, it was a little difficult to serve the country and the people. Ning Shu did not have the mentality of looking at an idol like Tao Yao. He did not have the filter of a fan. Li Hui's words could leave a radiance in Tao Yao's heart. After all, Tao Yao was half a Buddhist disciple and had a merciful heart. However, Ning Shu clicked his tongue. A treacherous official could cause unrest in the imperial court and make the people unable to make a living. Ning Shu asked, "For the country and the people, there are naturally people in the imperial court who worry about it. For the matters of the world, there are naturally people who worry about it. One less Li Hui would not affect it much. Li Hui sighed and said, I do not like fighting, but I cannot marry you like this. Are you willing to marry someone who has nothing and nothing? I hope that when I am in high school, I will marry you grandly and let you become the wife of the top scholar. Why do I want to become the wife of the top scholar? Ning Shu tilted his head and asked. The wife of the top scholar is awe-inspiring. You have a bunch of servants and you wear beautiful clothes. I hope to give you the best and make other girls envy you and respect you. Li Hui said. What is there to be awe-inspiring about? I am also wearing beautiful clothes now. Father said that the things he left for me will allow me to live a carefree life. Why do I have to work so hard to become the wife of the top scholar? Father said that the matters of the imperial court will affect the entire body. Even if I become the wife of the top scholar, I still have to deal with the wives of the high officials. Why do I have to work so hard? Father said that since I have a relaxing life to lead, why do I have to fight and scheme? Ning Shu tilted her head and looked at Li Hui. Li Hui was speechless for a long time. Should he say that this girl was easily satisfied or that she had no ambition? Wife of the top scholar, how nice was that? But no matter what, I have to achieve something and marry you grandly. Li Hui said. I don't despise you. We have food and drinks. Ning Shu said. Li Hui, that damn, he felt like he had fallen into a trap. Could it be that he could not get money and was being held here as a son-in-law? What a scary thing. Previously he swore and tried to curry favor, but in exchange he became a son-in-law? Li Hui thought that he had told this girl that he was going to the capital to take the exam. In order to let him pass, she would arrange everything for him. She would sew banknotes in his clothes and put money in his bag. She would let her future husband take the exam well. This was what many girls hoped for. A husband's glory and a wife's wealth would be tied to the man. She would give everything and endure so that the man could pass. Why was this girl so indifferent? Was she not understanding or did she really not care? Regardless of whether she did not care, he cared. Why couldn't she be gentler and more understanding? Why did she have to make everything clear? Some things were not easy to say. Ning Shu expressed that he was not going to get any benefits from Li Hui, so why did he have to serve Li Hui carefully? Ning Shu obviously knew what Li Hui meant. But he kept saying that he was doing it for her, that he was doing it to marry her, and that he had to make her hand over the things willingly. He accepted it like a big boss. Ning Shu said directly, My father said that I can't marry an official's son in this life. It's too complicated. My father wants me to live more comfortably. Li Hui grinned and laughed out of anger. He gritted his teeth and asked, Then what kind of person do you want to marry? Wenhua, I like you, but I also have my dreams. If you really like me, please support me. I'll do my best to treat you well. Ning Shu tilted his head and said, My father said that men become bad when they have power and influence. Also, those high-ranking officials enjoy the blessings of having wives and concubines. Sometimes, they even give each other singing and dancing prostitutes. So, I won't marry this man. Li Hui was so angry that his heart almost exploded. This girl was really crazy. Wasn't it normal for a man to have many women? But because of this reason, she wanted to break up. Li Hui really wanted to go back and dig a grave. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.